What the heck is a quad lock?
Watch this to find out. Whether you're in the car, on the bike, on the water, in the air, your phone is an important tool. Keep it secure with Quad Lock.
At that point, I was actually meant to go to AAA. So it was looking like I was going to go there and Whincup was going to go to Tickford. We run off $6 million a year and a set of tyres at $1,000. Like, they're actually really cheap. I'd put push to pass on the cars.
Would you?
Yeah, and I've driven it in Brazil and it's bulletproof. Oh, there's lots.
One more, give me one more, Frosty, one more.
Lyco was a good guy, so he was a good cop, and then there was a bad cop. I remember him very well, and he told me I'd never achieve anything in this sport.
What a prick.
And,
what's he doing now?
So I went to New Zealand and I finished second and got a podium, and I went to the urinal and boom, I stood right next to him.
And I bet your cock was bigger.
Yeah.
Oh no! He's in defence! The boat's in defence! They're all in defence! Oh, unbelievable!
Sound check.
Sound check.
Sound check.
Cheers, mate. Welcome to the bar.
Thank you.
Oh my God. It's a boy. Sorry, I'll have to sip before I cheers.
I was going to say, I don't want to spill it, but you beat me to
Did
it.
you shake this up on me, mate?
Yeah, must have done.
Cheers. Mate. I won't go over your laptop. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers, mate. That's probably going to be flat now anyway.
That's all right.
Well, very excited for our next guest. This one has been one we've been trying to lock away for a little while, but we're episode 50, so we've split the hundy with this one. We're getting closer to that magic number.
Lovely.
But if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. But I'll jump straight to the intro for this guy. He's, stats don't lie. He's had a mega career in supercars, 615 races, which I do remember at when you celebrated one of the milestones, Frosty, at Barbagallo. It wasn't so much about the race numbers. A very competitive man. It's always about the wins and podiums and poles. And with that, you got 41 wins to your name, 150 podiums and 43 pole positions, as well as supercar champion and Bathurst champ. So you've done it all, mate. Welcome to the bar.
Thank you.
Actually,
mate.
you might be the most successful person we've had so far when you reel those stats off.
Remember the 600 cake where we got the drill and had to drill it and all the Smarties fell out?
I do. That's what I was thinking of when I was writing these numbers down. I do remember, like, every driver you get to, like, when you get to some crazy number milestone, when you're still competing, it's always like the next race. It's not something you think about at the time. But now that you're not full time, is that something that you look back at now already and reflect on and go, holy shit, 615 is, that puts you up there as one of the best?
I know, it's funny, isn't it? Like race starts, I don't know, they're cool, but you want race wins. I don't know, like it's like that like second prize thing. Oh, you had a lot of starts. That's really cool. But
yeah,
you look at the wins and it's not till, I don't know, I think being in the sport a long time's cool. I think you realise how tough it is. That's the hard part. Like just dealing with all the politics and I don't know, all the emotions and all that sort of stuff, and being in it for 21 years, it's actually probably as big an achievement as winning races, because it's a tough sport, like to deal mentally and be motivated and all that sort of stuff. So it's a big number, but I look at the race wins and stuff. That's what I get.
Did you realise 41? I know I may actually be wrong here. I'm no statistician, whatever you call it. But 41 was your karting number as well, wasn't it, growing up? So
I could have got way more, to be honest.
Well, why didn't you?
Because I wanted to be 41.
Did you? Is that what's that karting number? Was it a special number? And then to finish on 41 wins, obviously you still co-drive this year. You might get another one. I hope not, but you may. But what was 41? What was that special?
Well, 41 was my number, but the funny thing is, like, through karting, you choose your number and then you roll into supercars and they give you a number. So I always wanted 41. So my Konica car that I debuted was 41. So I carried that into supercars. Yeah, right. My Formula Ford was 41. And that was like, I'm not superstitious, but that was your number. Yeah. But then you go into supercars and they go, right, you're number 5. And you go, well, I don't like, and then I went, 4 + 1, that's 5. So I was trying to turn in ways to make it sound like I was still 41. But 41 was it. I don't know how I got it. I think the kart, when I first traded my Pee-wee 50 in, were you around when the trading post was around?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Oh, you're in the same vintage. That's good.
I'm not. Oh, hang on. I'm just a little bit younger.
You probably weren't.
I'm older.
He's older than me.
Yeah, but
I don't look it.
You're saying I've had a hard go, then, Frosty.
No. Anyway, the Trading Post was a magazine.
Bloody hell, we need a moisturiser sponsor here, Scotty. I look like shit, apparently.
Oh, you look good up there.
No, it's all right.
But when I swapped that Pee-wee for the go-kart, it was 41.
Right.
So that was like the number. And then my mum ran 41 on her Mini, and it was just all these tie-ins. 41 popped up everywhere. So
your mum raced?
Yeah, I was going to say.
She raced a Mini.
How good's that? I didn't know that.
Yeah, little blue, little mini that she raced at Oran Park. So she was
Like in Group N or Appendix J or something?
Group N at the
okay.
time. So it was a blue Cooper, like Mini Cooper S, whatever they are, the old ones, and it was tiny, and she used to turn in the back wheel. It was really cool. It was a really cool car, and she was 41, so she had the lap record for the Mini at Oran Park anyway. So
That's funny because my old man raced in Group N in a Tirana. He was number 41.
Was he really?
When he bought his Tirana.
What number do you run on the Tirana now, the one you run?
It's now 92 or something because that's by the time he got a car again, all the numbers have been zapped up.
41 times 2 is 92. No, it's not 82, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say it's not times 3 either. So yeah.
I'm looking for reasons for you, but
You're definitely still a steering wheel attendant with those numbers.
yeah. But no, she was good. She actually, there was a place in Sydney back many years ago called the Village Grand Prix, and there's this little, it was like a hire cart place, but open wheel cars, and she had the lap record at Prospect in the Village Grand Prix outright against all the men, all the women, everything.
Wow.
So we had this big sign, and this is how bogan we are.
Awesome.
We had this big sign in our lounge room that was her lap time at the Village Grand Prix. So when people say, where do you get your driving,
I was going to ask
ambition or all that sort of stuff.
It's from your mum.
She was and plus in Doonside, you had to drive fast to get away from people.
You don't want to stop too long. You might end up losing your wheels while you're stationary. We did have this running joke when we were teammates at Team 18 about Doonside and Elizabeth. Remember that? We went to Elizabeth for an appearance to Auto Barn, I think it was, or Superchip, one or the other. And I'd been telling Frosty, like, Elizabeth's pretty bad as well. And we went into a shopping centre there. And as we're walking in, there was like this bunch of kids swearing at the security guard, threatening to do him in, get his brothers to come back and bash him. So we do have a little running joke as to who comes from the roughest place in Australia. But
Well, there you go.
it's Elizabeth or Doonside.
Both good areas.
I do want to ask straight into it. We've asked this a couple of times now. Bathurst or a championship? We did this with Will Power, Indy 500 or a championship. You've ticked both boxes. If you could only do one of them, which would it have been?
I'd choose the championship because I don't know, Bathurst is funny, isn't it? Like you go there and you can be just the best on the day and win, but the championship, if you're the best on the day, you still get exposed somewhere. So I always wanted to win the championship, and I think finishing second multiple times and falling short made you hungrier for that, because Bathurst, it feels like you can win at any time. You go there, even when you're like, you're no chance of winning it, you still go there, think you're going to win it. With the championship, after 2 rounds, you're done. Like you can be like, I'm going to win the championship this year, and you get to Adelaide and you
Practice after Adelaide, P1,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, we're fucked.
Yeah, you pretty well go, maybe we'll focus on Bathurst, and that becomes the priority where
Yeah, you're right.
to be the best for 12 months is, that's a big thing. So championship for me, plus running 1 on the car is like, I don't know, peeling that number off and putting 1 on is pretty special. So I'd always pick championship. That was always my, Australian title was, you'd always, in karting was Australian title, run the number 1 plate.
Yep.
It had meaning throughout your career. So, by far number 1. But then on emotion and like Bathurst, when you cross the line, you don't know you're going to win it till the end. And then when you cross the line, seeing all those people run in, the emotion, it means more to some crew members. They're crying. They're like blokes that never shed a tear and they're bawling their eyes out. And so it's different feel. But for me, I'd always pick championship. If you could pick one, you'd pick the championship.
It's a good competitor's point of perspective, really, because even like some of the other drivers we've asked have said the one-off race because of what it means outside the sport. Like Bathurst is one.
Longevity.
You could ask any punter on the street about a supercar race. The only one they're really going to name is Bathurst. That's the one that's known all around Australia. So a lot of people would probably say that because that's the one they like to think changes your life, because publicly that's known everywhere, like the Melbourne Cup. But it is, you're right, from a competitor's perspective, winning the championship is, you can't have any flaws to win a championship. And you're right, like Bathurst sometimes, it can choose you. Like it's one of those places, you can have the fastest car, be the best on the day, and like Shane
Run out of fuel.
Had a battery or alternator shit itself late in the race, or not put enough fuel in and we finish in the pit lane. It's one of those places that like, it doesn't matter how good you are on the day. If everything doesn't go your way, you won't get it done. But then sometimes you can get a little bit lucky and win it on luck, like you say. So,
but I think like championship, to go to like you go to Winton and then you go to Adelaide and you go to Bathurst, then you go to Gold Coast, then you've got to be good at everywhere. And it's actually like, it's really tough to do. And when you watch lots of categories or, like in football, some teams are good at the MCG, but, I'll go for the Giants, they're better at home. Then they play finals at the MCG and they fall short. So you don't want to become just good at certain places. To win the championship, you've got to be, really good everywhere. And that's, it's hard to do. It's very hard to do, to get the right, like the luck for the year, the right personnel, the car that's good in 40 degrees, the car that's good in 10 degrees, like with all this parity chat and everything, like, I don't know, like everything that goes on to be the best everywhere. It's, I reckon it's very tough to do. So that was the coolest thing. But the most demoralising thing's taking the one off the car, because you work your backside off forever to put it on, and then some dude's just there ready to peel it off, and it's demoralising. So the best part of your life's putting it on, the worst part's taking it off.
Well, I hope everyone's enjoying the show. We want to give a quick shout out to our partners that make this possible. Start with East Coast Car Rentals. If you're in the market for a rental car, AHU15 for 15% off already fantastically priced hire cars. Trico wiper blades. Barbs, if you're in the market for wiper blades, what are you going to buy?
Tricos.
Absolutely. And if you don't want to rent a car, you want to buy one, Lancaster Motor Group.
That's right. And if you go in and you mention Apex Hunters, you get a free wheel alignment. When's that till, Scotty?
End of June, I believe it is, this year. So if you get in and mention Apex Hunters, you don't mention our name specifically, because
I won't know who you're talking about. But if you are one to hit the gutters, or your missus likes to hit the gutters in your car, mine is guilty of that too. Take it in, they'll give you a free wheel alignment, job done.
All the links to these websites will be in the description of this video. So Shaw and Partners as well, big supporter of ours around the microphones, only fresh these ones. And Quadlock, the link there, if you're after any phone mounts, adapters, or a cover, you need a case for your phone. Action cam mounts as well. We smashed those, that we used them flat out the Adelaide Motorsport Festival. Any of the vision
they're
that was
awesome
captured there was
so quick to just change them.
Well, that was the thing that I didn't realise. Yeah, you don't need to undo your GoPro mount anymore. They've got their own connector, so that's very fast. But if you can, support the partners that keep us alive. If you'd love to watch our podcast live, like some of our Patreon members, go over there and sub. Back to the show.
We'll just spin it back to the family stuff quickly, Frosty, because you've got 3 boys and you named your youngest after me, so thanks for that, mate. Appreciate it.
No worries, yep.
But are they interested in racing? Any karting there or?
Well, they are, but they're interested in everything. So I've got 14, 12 and almost 6. So Oliver, he loves it, and Scott's seen it at the track. Like at Townsville, they come and stay, and 7 a.m. he's at the track with me. He's in there, he's chatting to Scott, probably annoying us, but
telling us what our strategy was the day before, that we could have pitted an extra lap.
Yeah,
he's right into it, isn't he?
He was right too. So so he actually sat in some engineering rooms and told me my camber was wrong. But like they're into it, and so if I said to him, hey, here's a go-kart, we'll go racing, he'd do it. But then he wants to play basketball, he wants to play footy. So he's good at everything, which is like a little shit. He's good at everything. So you can't just say give up, because he's good at everything. So Austin's 12. He's doing really well at basketball. Has got at Townsville, sometimes they say, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm about to go to the track. Oh, what are you're racing? He's got no real, he loves me, but he's got no interest in really the race at all. And then Elliot has rolled on. He's late. He's almost 6, but he's a hoon. I reckon he's the one that will rip stuff up. And
it goes with the name, mate.
It's going to be expensive. He's an expensive one, I think, because he's out of control. So he's trying to fight a 14 and 12-year-old at the moment. So banging side pods is probably, so he's my trouble child. So he's finding his feet at the moment.
Right.
But I also didn't want to race karts and be that dad that paid a mechanic to take my kids, because you do stuff as a family for me, and if they want to do it, they wait till we can all do it. And, if they want to do it, they give up everything, I will do it. But if they want to do everything, karting's all in. It's all in or nothing.
Yeah.
So who knows? At the moment, it's I'd rather than play basketball, to be honest.
Yeah, I bet you do.
So if you could be Steph Curry and do the 50 mil a year, and I'm happy to move to America and sit back and
buy a couple of pairs of sneakers, a few balls, mate.
Yeah, and that's
Elliot used to make me laugh. Anytime I'd been in an accident with someone else, he'd come down and tell me, like, who are they? Where I'll go find them for you and sort them out.
I thought you were talking about me for a second.
No. So Gold Coast, when Jimmy Goldie and I had the run in, he's like, well, I'll go find Jimmy for you if you want. I'll fix him up.
When they crash into me, he doesn't care. It's only when Scott gets crashed
Yeah,
into.
that's right.
Or he's trying to fight me.
Yeah, he's trying to
like
fight
at
you,
breakfast
yeah.
trying to fight me. No, that's awesome. What about, you've set back for 21 years full time. What's the adjustment been like this year? Has it felt not being full time, but obviously still busy with Tickford and your duties there, but how's that transition been this year, mate?
It's actually been all right. Like, it's really refreshing having the kids. Like, as in the kids, I mean my 4 Super 2 guys. Like, they're really good young men, and they're the stuff that annoys us, like when you race, they love it. So
Right.
if it's a merchandise signing or an autograph session and they're in between debriefs, they hop up and go. They love it. They're at that phase of give me everything. So it's actually really infectious. So like at Sydney when I was with them guys, I sat in the truck with them. We didn't actually watch the main guys. We were looking over data and footage and they were teaching me what 18-year-olds do, which is a concern as well.
I was going to say, you probably look at TikTok.
Yeah, that's sure. That'll do. But like they're like
TikTok.
They're good. They're good kids. So I'm really enjoying kind of living through them a little bit.
Yep.
Like not if they don't win or whatever, it doesn't matter. But they're soaking up everything and it's infectious. So I don't know. I think the sport beat me up a little bit the last few years. So it's been nice to slot back in and do that and be appreciated again for what you do and probably not beat up as much. So
has that felt different? I mean, even when we shared that you were coming on immediately, there's just so much support. And I feel like we started a thing, who remembered, who forgot, based on the fact that drivers don't just forget. But James Courtney, after the last round in Taupo, he qualified, him and Cameron, qualified 5/10 off second last row. I'm like, you do not forget that bad. And it prompted us to ring Blanchard, and it turned out he's made some, he's employed Dennis, who we both know, and they're trying to do some things to turn it around, and he's not blaming the drivers at all. But publicly, there was some people saying he should just retire and he's holding a seat for a young bloke. And you're like, are you fucking kidding me? The guy's not half a second off the back of the field. I think that's what frustrates me, seeing those retirement comments. But has that been refreshing to see the support? It's kind of sad because like, where are all these people when there's hate online about holding seats for young blokes and stuff? But then all of a sudden everyone's saying you should be in the Tickford car next year. And like, honestly, there's some of the comments coming through about like, oh, is there a chance you'll be in a Tickford car next year? It's like,
it's actually good. Like, for me, the like the supporters are really good. I don't like people get emotions, and when you race, like we all do it. We're all guilty of it. You watch your footy team play, and you're like, oh, I could have kicked that, and you go down the oval and kick it from 20 out, and it shanks left, and you go, give me another one, and you kick it, give me another one. You kick the third one.
See, could have done it,
but you could have done it. But like people are emotional, but they only like write stuff because they're passionate. So I don't really. I've been lucky. Like the people. That's me. I had that slap.
That's a slap on the wrist.
You actually just prompted me. I'm not on Do Not Disturb either.
I'll stop telling you.
But the people, like the supporters of our sport are really good. Like, and when I stopped, I had so many nice messages, photos. I was really happy with how like it finished, not with how I got treated at the team, I guess, but by the people, because they show you respect. It's actually really nice. And I think through my whole career, I showed people respect that, you know, they support you and stuff like that, and you get it in return, and that's just be genuine, you know. And I think the supporters are really good people. They're passionate about what we do. They spend their money on, you know, supporting you effectively, and I don't know, good people shine through, and I think that was the nicest part. And even now, whether they want you to race or not, or you're going home or whatever, people are pretty respectful. Social media is a bit, you know, it's a bit of a different thing, isn't it? But when we first started, there was none of that. So to say the stuff they say online, they had to say to your face, and they never say it. But online, you can do that, and then you can't undo it because it's been seen. But that's a minority. I think most people in our sport they're good, and whether you race or not, you know, I still get lots of messages, and I'm not even racing. It's they've created a connection, and that's important. So, I'm pretty happy with like that side of it, you know, with the support, and I've been very lucky.
What's a typical day for you now, mate?
Well, writing that book, the book was really busy. Like I thought.
Did you write that yourself?
So I had a ghostwriter. So James Phelps, who is a good mate, and he knows me very well. So it was really good because when he left the Telegraph, he went into crime writing. So
he had some really successful books, though, didn't he?
He's turned into a really big author.
Yeah.
And in the book space, he's one of the most renowned authors. Right. So he pitched the idea to HarperCollins, and they had a Zoom call and they loved it. And it's funny, like when you race, you don't think of your story as being anything. Like I'm kind of like, who'd want to read this story? You know, like just anyway. And yeah, it went from there, and then we turned. It's an 80,000 word book. Like it's a lot of writing, and then instead of just doing a results book, I did the whole journey and no bullshit. It's like how you grew up. It's not all rosy, you know. Like people think you live this gifted life that you just race cars because you woke up and you just, you know, whatever. Like I think your life's perfect. So in that book, I write heartache, and you know a lot of my stories, like you know some personal stuff, but like you write it because that's what people they create a connection, and yeah, it was important. So that took a lot of time to write it, read it, edit it, write it, read it, edit it, get it right, because you get one crack at getting it right. And now we're at the editing stage and stuff, so that's kind of done, and now we're looking at other businesses and trying to get stuff going.
When did you start the process of writing your book?
Well, when I signed my deal, I still had what I thought was another year left of racing. So it was like, sign the deal, and then that all changed very quickly. So the book got pushed forward a bit to come forward a bit. So
when you knew it was your last full-time year, you then started that process, did you?
Yeah, yep. So it was actually meant to come out not this year, but next year effectively. But that all changed, and life changes, so you roll with it, and we got onto it. So it's actually really good. It should be a good read. Like I think out of all the sports books I've read now started to read a couple to see what I like and what I don't like. And people who tell you all the good stuff and not the bad stuff, it's like we don't live that life. Like it's bullshit.
I think that's part of why the podcast with Apex Hunters has been reasonably successful straight out the gate, is because we're at a bar and we're trying to show people the people.
Yeah.
Not their fluffy story with their team hat on and their polo shirt, but like what's it like to have a beer with Mark Winterbottom?
And it's a lot more relatable.
Well, normally you shout, so that was perfect. So I got the first bit bang on.
Well, thanks, Reckless.
It's way more relatable too. Like I've been thinking a lot about when people say about the tall poppy in Australia. I think what it is people can't relate to someone just always being successful, or that becomes out of reach, and they try and bring them back because it makes them feel better about where they're at. And I think if you can tell a story like what you've done that has relatable elements, they'll celebrate your success. Because they don't just think, oh, he's just had it easy and a silver spoon since the beginning and no hard times. I think everyone has challenges, but the tall poppy thing, a lot of it I think is because they find someone unrelatable and they try and find a way to make them relatable, bring them down so they feel better about themselves.
Well, we were saying the other day, really the only way you can be successful in life is through hard work. It's very rare that you'll get genuine success because, as you say, you just wake up and you've got it at your doorstep. So, but a lot of people miss that, right? They just see you once you get to a point.
Yeah, but they see like on television, they don't follow you around when you're 5 years old and when you have your car crash or when your mum has cancer, or like there's no camera there living that. But they fast forward 20 years and they see you rock up in a nice commercial suit and a nice shiny helmet and a AU Falcon belt, and you know they see the end product. They don't see the start. So for me, like a lot of people don't want to talk about hard stories, and some of the stuff I've never spoken about. So it's actually nice to get it out as well. Because
when does the book come out?
Get it as well, yeah.
So it's coming out in September.
Is there a little snippet of that, like a little paragraph from the book that you want to tell on the podcast, so to get people to buy it? Like, is there any story while we're on? Like,
no, but
I don't know if you've got a little
for me,
soundbite you want to.
it goes through, you know, with mum and you know all that stuff that builds you. Because like people think that motor racing is your life and that's all you've ever done, but for me, like rolling on the grid and being on pole position or being on last or whatever it is, people think that's your biggest moment of your life. But some of that stuff is so easy compared to what you've grown up with. You know, like being on pole position, people worry about stuff. I used to, like, you're not nervous, I don't know, but some of the stuff you do growing up, going to mum's cancer appointments and getting told, you know, today's a bad day or today's a good, that's tough. So for me, in the book, I try to write, because we all go through it. We've all got heartache and stuff like that. So you try and put it down in words so it's relatable, and people don't know half the stuff that you've done. So in the book, it'll cover, you know, your story of who you are, the character you become, So it should be a good read. That's why when I wrote it, I thought, actually, should be a good read because, some of the stuff I've never even told my mates. You bottle it up because it's, I don't know, some stuff's hard to talk about, like reliving bad moments. So in the book, I've tried to capture it as realistic as I can, and
it sounds
no
like
spin on it too, just facts. So
it does sound like a really good read for someone that, loves our sport, but also has their own challenges that can read through it and find something relatable in there as well. That's what makes a good story, doesn't it? It's something when it resonates with you, that's when you get something out of it. And you never know as well who that might affect or who it might help get through something that's what I love about the fact you've told your stories. You don't know who out there is maybe in a position that's not feeling great about himself, or maybe they're going through some stuff with their loved one, and they hear those stories and then get to see what you continue to do or go on to do. It definitely inspires.
Yeah, so hopefully
others.
the book's and it covers like good moments, bad moments, and everything in between. So
awesome! I'm looking forward to it now.
Someone reads it and they like the book, that's me. If they don't like it, that's me. That's me in a book. So anyway, it is what it is.
That's ace. How are you? You're a competitive guy, mate. You're still obviously racing, but how are you feeding that competitive side during the week now?
Well, Sydney, I was there, so I watched the race, but I tried to distract myself a bit so then you don't miss it until it's there. And then when it's there, you go, bro, I could beat that bloke, or I could, or damn, that car's good, or that didn't do that when I was there, but that car did. And you start to sort of dissect it a bit. So Sydney, I was busy. Then I got to drive the car on the ride day, and that satisfied a lot of my needs because I fired into two and the thing turned, and when I got on the gas, it got out, and I went, shit, this is nice. So
cleared the brake, kept rotating.
And I actually passed 2 cars on my first outing, and one was my old car. So I turned inside him at 2. So you're not meant to race on ride days, but I turned inside, and I was on the inside at 2, and I just turned and got on the gas. That satisfied a lot of my competitiveness. Then the next round, the Grand Prix, I went to and just watched a little bit, but that's the first time I've watched on TV really in 21 years. So, and I was picking up, things with Cam's car. I was like, when you're not emotionally removed, you can actually see the stuff that when you're on race meetings, you're thinking the whole world's just that. It's funny, you get bottled into it where I was texting him, hey, this looks bad on your car, this looks good. And he's changed it and they went, oh, that was better. So you actually started to see things clear. Yeah. When you're on a race weekend, you don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't know, you're too focused on what's going on. And then Topor, the first day I went water skiing. So I was like, I'm not watching this, I'm out. Yeah. So I went water skiing and then Sunday watched the whole thing. And it's actually really good. The coverage is good. The racing's
unreal at the moment.
Good. And
it's the best year for you to tune in because for sure the racing has been unbelievable.
It was
all
good.
year.
Yeah, and they were banging into each other. And then Matty Payne won, which was cool because he comes up to Bundle. So he come up a week later to Bundalong. We were still there. So he come over and talking about the race. And I don't know, I think the sports, it's actually cool watching. So you fall in love with it again because when you get you get more bad results than you get good ones. And, our years were tough when we were racing. So it
a lot of quiet trips on the way home.
It's just tough, and it beats you up. But when you actually sit back and watch it, the sport's cool. It is really cool. And you're cheering this guy on, and then you're like, there's a hero, the villain, and I become the... So do you miss it? I miss a good car. But when I saw, my car on the front row from last year, I was like, damn, that's fast. But then I saw it go back in the race, and I'm like, I don't miss that. So, there's aspects you miss a fast car being up the front, I guess. But, it's also nice watching it as a fan. 21 years, you can sit there with your wife and kids and watch the sport you love and, I don't know, reconnect again. So I'm not too bad yet. But
so that first lap in your because you're in the monster car, aren't you, with Cam? Yep.
Cam, yep.
At the Enduro. So that first lap you did on the ride day, that sort of verified the move in your mind, did it?
Oh, just not that. I drove the car. The car felt good. I think it's funny, the Tickford car, it's what I know from those years. And although it's been, what did I drive? The FGX. I never drove a Mustang there. So that's evolute, but it still feels like a Tickford car. It's funny. I jump back in and it's I roll off the brake this way and it works, and I run this brake bias, it works. It's like all the stuff I've been trained, where the 880 Team 18 hybrid thing that we drove didn't make sense. I don't know, just didn't feel ever like it's what I knew. It felt foreign. So, and yeah, going home and all that sort of stuff, it felt good, and putting blue on again felt right. Like it felt right. So whether the car's fast at Bathurst or not, who knows? But it's the right move. It's, you know, a lot of the staff were there when I won the championship, and it's nice to be respected, and they welcome you and you're part of the team. So yeah, it feels right. But whether the car's the right choice, I think it's, you know, it was pretty good that weekend. I was pretty happy with that choice. So, but felt right. Feels good to drive and comfortable, and just feels like what I know.
It's much better, I can tell you, to turn up to 2 weekends with a chance of having success than 12 with no fucking hope. That's been, like you say, you'll see a moment where your car might have been quick at a moment, but then you see, say, the next day, or that even that day, like you say, with the car going backwards in the race. That's definitely, you know, what I don't miss. Like, I can relate to hearing that. And it's one of those things, it's so hard to get in one of the cars that are fast. And when you've had a tough run, even at the end of your career, or at mine when really, you know, probably finished early, but you're not left with many opportunities, because really you want to get in a better car, and if you haven't had the results, it's not going to happen. So realistically, I felt like I would miss it, but then being realistic and going, well, I was never going to get in a position I thought that I could do better than I was doing. And I know how hard those weekends, like those trips on the way back to hotels after a Saturday or Sunday, when it's like we're just getting in the car and sit in silence, you know, and it's hard. Like after a number of years, you definitely get a bit burnt out. And I'm looking forward to seeing you this year and being refreshed, revitalised, because it is to go to Sandown. I remember we were joking about how quickly you were like, geez, you've remembered quickly, and you know, it is surprising how much more enjoyable it is to watch as a fan, knowing that there's very few people that get to be in the best car and get exactly what they want out of a weekend. But it's a fantastic thing to watch. Like Taupo was some of the best racing, and I think even Sydney was unreal. But what surprised us was they topped it, I think, by the Melbourne Grand Prix, not that first race there. So this year's been a lot easier to watch than not watch, I think. It's just, very few people get to sit in the car they want to, but if you can do it twice a year, it's better than not.
The only thing you miss is the quali laps. Like that's a
green tyre.
If you could have like a co-driver shootout with a set of greens, that would fulfill you.
I'd watch it.
But that would fulfill you, because that just rolling out on greens and that warm-up process and tighten the belts and just know that. Yeah. Because when you're in co-driver mode, I've already betted in brakes. I've already and I did 27 rides on the ride day when Cam was feed up after the weekend. So I know my role, but just that green tyre run.
Yeah, you won't get many greens. And the categories this year changed all the testing rules as well. So we've lost our co-driver test, but excitingly, they've increased our miles in the races. So we're going to be more unprepared.
Well, on the test day, I drove on last year's tyres because they didn't have the new batch for the test day. So, like, even that, like, you just go, I want to run the current batch, you know, like just. Yeah. Anyway, but you miss that. Like, that's the
adrenaline rush, the kick.
Well, just that shootout or whatever. But you know that going to Bathurst, your car's going to be in the top 10 bar some drama, because, you know, your car will be, my car will be. Like, you know they're going to be there. So you just got to play that Saturday role of just pretending you're in the car and supporting him. And so it's a different mindset, but that's the one thing. You know,
do you wish you could start?
I think you should be able to. I think because problem is, all we're going to do is just bottleneck down to the same strategy. We saw it last year. It was...
You do the middle of the day stint rolling around by yourself. It's like a practice session.
But one of the best things at Bathurst, you'd roll in and, like, even Richo one time drove to the grid and he got to the grid and he goes, I'm not feeling it. I don't want to start. Right. So I went, oh, shit, grab my helmet. So, boom. I mean, like, it can change on the grid.
Yep.
Like, that's
exciting.
That's Bathurst. That's the, should we change? Should we not? Like, that's the adrenaline sort of side of it, where now it's like, you're going to do 22 laps. You're going to jump in. I'll race you for 44 laps. Yeah. He'll jump in. He'll do 22 laps. Like, you know.
Yeah. You know what's going to happen.
And the best part, I think, this year, the racing is the strategies have been, because the tyres are a little bit better or whatever's going on, it's been a little bit more open.
Yep.
So, we should start or have the option, because otherwise it's, I don't know, devalues it. Because our value when you come out of the main series is that you can start, you don't lose it, so you should be, you're more than capable of doing it. So anyway, see what happens. The rules change.
Last year I got in, I didn't see a car for the whole of Bathurst.
That's what I mean.
So I saw like exit of 1, I could just see Ojeda, and I did the entire day.
Practice session.
Full practice session.
Yeah.
Never saw a car except for like a lapped car, obviously, but someone you're racing. Never saw anyone.
But your value is that you time trial that really well. So you're really valuable. But for fulfillment, you want to be banging doors. And from a race point of view, it used to be the mix-up, like co-drivers ahead.
Yep.
Not always you'd catch them. If they're in a better car, they drive off. But like you'd be like, co-drivers, all right, I can get him, run down the gap, pass him. But it's only short term because then when their guy jumps in, they're going to jump you back. So you were doing this shuffling all day. Like at the moment, we can run 44 laps and it can be 10-second gap and it might drop to 9 if you're doing a good job. But you're not going to see anyone. Like it's, don't know. They mess up that. So because Bathurst should be the pinnacle and it should be open rules, like no pit stop number, no fuel number, whatever. You just, you say fuel, you get an extra stop. You say like, you should be able to manipulate the result a bit, not be told who starts because we'll do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad we got into some of the strategy stuff because it's always been something that I've wanted to, I think we should still start the race, but I wanted to get to the bend. Now, Sandown is one of my favourite tracks. I think it's sad that we don't get to do it as an enduro. What are your thoughts on doing the 500 at the bend now instead of Sandown?
Well, I'd choose Sandown any day of the week. The bend, I think the Tickford car is going to be really good at the bend, so I'm all for it, but it's probably, I'm not going to.
You do love a track.
I don't want to chicane it because it's like, we're very lucky that they've built that facility and all that stuff, but out of all the tracks that I went to, that was one of my least favourites because it was just long corners and the cars just didn't, cars didn't like
cars,
them. But
Were you only there in T18?
I was there in Tickford for 1 year.
Right, yep.
I finished 4th.
Yep.
So it was like the car was good.
Yep.
But I still found the track like very, it just doesn't, it's an open wheeler track. It feels like an open wheeler.
It's a high aero track.
And it's an amazing track.
It's an amazing track.
I guess the question wasn't to, like shit on the bend. It's actually just, I think Sandown, if you could do 3 and say it's not Gold Coast anymore and it's the bend, Sandown, Bathurst, amazing. I just think it's such a shame to not be doing, and the fact they're still racing there, I think that's what hurts the most. They're still going there for a sprint round.
I love Sandown. Yeah. People always say, what's your favourite track? And you've got like, the Adelaides or the Bathurst, but I really enjoy
track.
Because it's like a street track. You're up against Armco still in spots and it's like high risk, high reward. I think it's a great
It's got history. That's the thing. It's the history of it. Like my first ever race win was at Sandown 500 in the garage when Bridie won.
right.
So my first ever like supercar race win was when I wasn't in the car. But Bridie, it was a big event and the crowd and the grandstand there and everything big. But then you look back at footage and there's Brock getting the water thrown at his windscreen at break. It's got history.
I was telling that story the other day. Was that with you? I couldn't remember who it was. That was Brock, was it?
Brock, yeah.
I was literally saying to someone the other day that there was a car that slowed down. It had oil or something on the window.
I'm pretty sure it was him anyway.
He needed a set of tricos, did he?
He needed some Trico wiper blades.
But I think that's
they were doing like 100 and they threw a bucket of water and that blew the window out.
Yeah.
I think they had to get in and kick the back window out after.
Pretty sure it was Brock. I might be wrong. There's people way smarter than me, but we'll roll with that. Yeah. But like Sandown's got the hiry. Tail and Bend, after we might sit here in 20 years' time and go, Farah, this got history. Remember that race? It'll build the history. But it's like changing, like it was Sandown to Bathurst. That's how you've grown up. And, when I said Tail and Bend's not my favourite place, that's personally, like people love it. They go there and they think it's the best track. It's for you or not for you. But like, I think Sandown has to be, in my opinion, Sandown because it's big. Yeah. It's a big event. It's what I know. It's what I grew up with. And history shouldn't, you got to recreate history sometimes, but some things you don't have to change.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, for me, Sandown was that was the pinnacle. I loved it. It was almost as big as, it wasn't Bathurst, but it was, if you win the 500, in 15 I won the 500, it was one of my biggest achievements of the year was the 500.
Yeah, right.
It's a big
that was
moment.
the move as well on J-Dub, wasn't it? You passed.
That was another time.
Or did J-Dub pass you? No, but you passed in Dandy Road or something?
I passed Chaz around the outside into 6.
Hey, outside too.
Yeah.
That.
The one at Dandy, was that you that went down the inside?
That was 2012 or something,
That cut them. I remember that, and it's funny because I was floating.
You run him up on the curb too, don't you? Is that the one?
Oh,
He
potentially.
dived him. He left
Yeah.
J-Dub left the door open.
Turned in on me.
Yeah.
That's the one. And it put J-Dub through the gravel trap.
Yeah.
I remember I rated that move though. That was a good.
I was happy with that. But then
But that's the event, yeah.
15 one, I did a burnout on the after the race. And so when you celebrate, do the burnout, crowd's all in front of the ground. It makes sense.
Yep.
Drove around, got the trophy, went home, went to dinner actually with Renee because I was like, we've got to celebrate this. This was awesome.
Yeah.
Went home, sat on the couch, and then got a text saying from Chris O'Toole, who was the team manager, saying, just heads up, we've accepted the $5,000 fine. We're all good. And I'm like, what's this for? So I got in trouble because it was a no burnout zone between the last corner, and so they wanted to be done over the back where there was 3 blokes standing by themselves. So anyway, he negotiated $5,000 for me. I'm like, that's bullshit. And
It
then
is pretty irrational to do a burnout on a piece of tarmac. You've been doing like 250 Ks an hour
how's
all
this?
day, so it's pretty unsafe.
James Warburton rings me the next day. He goes, that's bullshit, mate. We'll cover it. So he paid for
brilliant.
it. He paid for it.
How good's
And he
that?
was like, he was one guy I really respect in the sport. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
for reasons like that, he's like, we're big at like, yes, it's
That
a
was good for the sport.
That's
yeah.
formality. He goes, but that was epic. We'll cover it. Like,
That's cool.
so I wrote that off. So then I said to her, like she was annoyed because she's like, $5,000, like it was a lot of money. So, but then the
That's
next
a holiday, mate.
Well, the next day I was like, hey, we're good here. So
That's funny. Oh, the $5,000, the partners definitely don't like it. I got a story. I won't say who it is, but at Townsville during the rides, if you spin or go up an
dangerous.
escape road, it's $5,000 fine. And my teammate in 2013, you can look up. If
Well,
you
we're
want.
going to know who that is.
we know who it
Exactly.
is. Yeah.
And but
I won't say anything, but
I ended up spotting him the bill.
13, his name sounds like.
I'm sure he won't mind, but I spotted him the bill because he was afraid his partner, his wife's going to be, she's going to be so pissed off. He did a donut. He accidentally spun doing a drift into the pit lane
he earned heaps more
and
than
got,
you. Why did
and
you
got
pay it?
fined. And he's like, I'll pay you back, but like, we'll work it out, It's like, I don't want to just have this lump sum come out my account. My wife's going to go nuts. But yeah, it is like just tearing up cash, especially for doing a burnout. But spinning on a ride is just as bad. That's like,
But when you win, you don't want to pay money. Like normally you get a
should be-
bonus or
Yeah,
something.
you want to collect money,
Yeah,
not
it was-
fork it out.
So it went the other way.
good the team spotted it, and then the CEO was like, actually, you know what, I'll take that one for
It was
the team.
awesome.
Yeah, was Tooley saying it's going to cost you 5 or it was going to cost the team
No,
5?
no, us, like myself.
Yeah, right.
So he said, like, they wanted 10. And he goes, I've got it down, I've
Oh,
halved it.
he thought he'd done. Oh, he was saying you're going to pay it.
Yeah.
I thought he said
So
the team would take
it was 10. He goes, I've got 5 suspended and you only have to pay 5.
Oh, mint.
So,
Thanks, Tooley.
so he got me half the price. But then, anyway, so.
That's classic.
Yeah, I bet that wouldn't have made Renee feel any better anyway. For $5,000, still.
Well, I was still trying to like.
doing a burnout, you
I
dickhead.
passed him around the outside. Like, I was still trying to live off my moment a little bit. But anyway.
Took the windy stars. What's your where do you sit with ARBs, mate? Should they be back in the car?
I don't know about ARBs. I'm not 100% sure because some cars they work in and other cars you just touch it because the car should be set up well enough anyway. Some cars are really sensitive to it. Some cars you never touched it. Like I've been in cars that you've never touched it before, and I don't know. I think not sure 50-50 on it. I think like the adjuster for the brakes is probably more important in some ways because
The quick bias adjuster.
yeah, because the ARB I don't mind as much, but the quick adjuster because from a safety point of view, like when they mount it, you're trying to take a hand off the wheel to do a right. Because remember ours, we
was
had the
right
issue.
down here.
So mine at Team 18 went right because it was on the right-hand side. His was on the left-hand side. So his went anti-clockwise. Mine went clockwise.
What's different between the two cars?
But then he had backlash on his and his numbers were different because it went that way. It's like
So I'd be like, what are you running? He's like, oh, plus 1.5. And they'd be like, that's minus one, minus a half for you. And I'm like,
so there's other areas I'd prioritise because I was driving down the straight with my knee on the wheel trying to give myself a click of bias
yeah.
and pull gear. So like
That sounds shit, yeah.
from a just practicality thing, I'd make the brake bias better. And that old system where you could just do that was awesome.
Yeah.
Did you ever have the ARBs that were on the winders?
I did, yeah.
I had that in the old GRM Super 2 thing I had. I remember going down the straight at Adelaide, plucking gears, trying to like,
Yeah.
I
It's
think
like
they
then you
did
get
run that.
backlash and it goes back the
it's
other
like
way.
trying to rub your head and pat your belly at the same time, pluck gears.
They ran that for quite a while as well. And even BJR, I think, now have their adjuster on top of the gear
They
leaf,
do,
I think it
yeah.
is, which actually looks pretty good. Like that's a
Yeah.
good solution for that. The ARBs, I think you're right. When a car's in the window, you don't need them. Team 18, we probably wore them out, but I think that it's cool to have them because you can bring a car into the race a little bit more throughout. You know, if you roll out of the pit lane and it's not great, you might be able to do something with it. But I do agree, prioritising, like even at Bathurst, doing all your quick adjusters across the top of the mountain, it's sketchy. You're coming down, especially as a Coe now where we're not driving the car every week. You come out of the dipper and you're doing quick adjusters down there towards the elbow. It's very easy to go either the wrong way or not, or double downshift when you get to the kink at the wall there and make a mistake, which we see happen quite a bit.
Yeah.
The thing with the rear bars too, like in the ARBs, the way they run that restricted droop now, you run the bar soft anyway. That's the problem. Like back in the day, you'd run 2-clicker bar and get 2-clicker bar, but now with the droop, they're literally the wheels off the ground. So they just run the rear bars, you know, in general, quite soft, and the smallest tubes they can find and all that sort of stuff. Like, so it's a different way of racing too. Like back in the day when the restricted droop wasn't a thing. I think, like I'd love to get rid of that restricted droop because then you'd use the bars, then you've got to actually, mechanics make sense on the cars where the
TV
droop,
wouldn't have anything to talk about though if we got rid of
I know,
restricted
but
droop.
like droop, when the wheel's off the ground and you're trying to use a bar to do something, it's like almost irrelevant because you just put the bars full soft. Like most of the time at Team 18 or when you're running that real restricted droop number, you just run it soft because there's no gain going stiffer. But then you watch other guys who, you know, Van Geers when he was at wherever it was, turn 8, he'd go full stiff at turn 8. Like that's cool. For one corner, you're trying to find something.
Yeah.
So if it works for you and there's a purpose, I'd bring it back. But if they're going to run that restricted droop and the wheel's off the ground, actually it does nothing anyway. The bar's almost disconnected. So I don't know. I'd change a few things, which would probably lead to other.
What are a couple of things that you would change if you given the chance tomorrow? You could say these are the 3 items I really want in a supercar that I'm going to race at Bathurst. What would they be?
I'm not sure I'm convinced on the formats, to be honest. Like I'm not 100% sure on the formats because the tyre situation and like I think they should run almost unlimited tyres in some way. Like not unlimited, but like you should come home with greens.
Yeah.
You should have that option. If there's a safety car, you've got greens. Like you shouldn't have to be penny pinching from the bank because we run off $6 million a year and a set of tyres are $1,000. Like they're actually really cheap.
Yeah.
It's like some categories around the world there.
Is that what they are?
Well, they're like
I think it's $1,200.
$1,200.
And
Cheaper than a set of bloody Hoosiers, mate.
But you're right. You go to the test days even for you now, and you're going to know like that one in Sydney. We ran 2024 tyres.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And it's like, why the fuck are we doing this? Like, we're the premier category in Australia, and for $1,200, we're like I think they had 3 sets of tyres for the entire day, which meant the fans as well don't even get to see their favourite guys turn a lap for half the day.
But then like testing, in practice, they save the tyres till the end because then that tyre carries over to the next event. Like when you go and watch NASCAR, you roll out and they're all new tyres. They roll out on brand new tyres. They often qualify straight away on brand new tyres and then practice and everything's new tyres going at it. So we seem to talk about it a lot, but the tyre quality is just, or the quantity is not enough. Like I'd change that. Then I'd probably change the formats that allowed a guy to run tyres late to come through and spice it up that way a little bit. Because at the moment, they just do the same strategy because they've got the same tyre, that's why. But if you had more tyres, you'd probably spice it up a bit. And if you didn't have to take them to the 2 weeks' time, you'd be okay. I don't know, there's lots of things.
Even cost of storing them then as well actually probably save teams because you're not storing tyres in heat-controlled rooms and things like that.
You store tyres over Christmas. Some years you'd come back, they'd be purple the next year because they'd be sitting out like...
That's because you're titrating, mate.
Yeah, that was go-kart. No, but like they'd just be purple. And then you'd roll out and go, oh, car's crap. So then they're trying to save cost, but then you go and buy simulation software that does it all for you and not every team has that. And so it opens up, I don't know, I'd change that. I'd put push to pass on the cars.
Would you?
Yeah, and I've driven it in Brazil and it's bulletproof.
I was going to ask you about Brazil. We'll go to that later, but yeah.
It's the best.
You're right.
So push to pass. So it's artificial, but it creates passing because it's got a 2-minute delay. When you press the push to pass, it gives you 15 seconds, 20% throttle opening. So it's fast. But you push it 3 seconds it takes to engage, so you can't press to react.
Yeah, right.
So you press it coming into the corner at the last corner, and as you accelerate out, it engages, and you get 15 seconds, and it's 8/10 a lap.
Wow.
So you go past someone,
Wow.
but then they see you coming, and they can't press to react because it's 3-second delay.
That's smart. I like that.
So they wait till the next lap. So you've got a 2-minute no button press, and so then they pass you on the next lap. And then so there's this artificial racing, but you get 14 in a race. So then what I realised when I hopped in the car when I was the co-driver, I hopped in and I'm like, I pushed the buttons, like it's not working. He goes, I used all 14 in about 20 laps. So, but like you have to manage it because the guys on the radio are saying, oh, he's got 7 left. He's catching you, but let him.
So they promote that too. So fans and teams can see how. So that's so cool.
And what they get is a popularity one. You get one extra push to pass. So it gets people engaged because vote for me.
That's really good.
Give me,
well, imagine Bathurst last year just with Brock and Brody, where they were like 1 and 2 neck and neck, and at the end of the race, kind of like, well, unless Brody makes a mistake, it's great to see them operate at a high level, but only we really appreciate that.
But even Cam coming on the straight in Sydney, if he had one left and they side draft, it's like creates that epic finish because problem is often the car behind's faster, but
can't,
and then you are always to pass someone that's borderline, then Beto gets involved because it's like, oh, it's a grey area, and but it takes that out. And if you're fast enough, you take off. Yeah. And then you've got to build 8 tenths and they'll come back at you. But
that's a cool one. I like that.
I really enjoy that. But I've floated it and no one's interested in it. But
how do you know how that actually worked? Like how did it give them the extra speed? Was it
opens the throttle. So they run off about 80% throttle.
Right. So they had extra in the
correct, yeah. And fly by wire lets you do it. So you can't do it off a mechanical throttle cable, but with the fly by wire, it's like DRS in some ways, but it actually works. Like DRS is just a novelty thing.
Well, for F1, it would make a difference. For us, it would not because
no, but even F1, like you get too much aero wash, and unless it's Shanghai that's got
the long straights,
long straights doesn't work. Like Miami, you watch, it doesn't work the DRS really. So this actually through a corner, aero wash, like whatever. There's no. It works because the engine's fast. So you get 20% throttle and you go past. And in qualifying, you can't use it. And then in practice, guys use it, and then they get this fake timesheet, and it was really cool. I like the aspect of it. But
I think that's a good change.
I like that. That's very cool.
And spices it up. So that's one change. And there's lots.
One more. Give me one more, Frosty. One more.
I think. Well, back when I started, there was like 18 or 20 races. There's not enough races. Like waiting 4 or 5 weeks to an event, waiting for your ship to come back, and I understand there's reasons why they do it, but the cars, if you race Trans Ams, you could do 20 events because the cost is right, and you get a good show, and the cars are too expensive, and they break easy, and just I don't know. There's lots of things, but I understand there's reasons why it happens, and it just is what it is. But when you've got mates, they don't know when you're right. Like normally you get invites to everywhere because you're not racing much. You were never away because like back in the day, you'd be away every weekend. You'd be 18, 20 races a year. So they have to get the volume back up because it's too hard to follow.
Yeah.
It's too big a gap. So
you want people to find it by accident almost. Like Tasmania is this weekend and we haven't planned ahead enough our pre-brief because we didn't realise it was this weekend.
Because we're having a little holiday because we've got so much time.
Given how good the racing is,
and we're following it.
Like the racing this year is incredible. So imagine that every weekend because you build a story like back years ago, and I sound like the old geriatric bloke, but like you would build rivalries because you'd crash into someone and then next week, I'm getting him back. But now they all go on holidays, and then 4 weeks time, they're like, oh shit, I don't even know who hit me last time. Like it's that long ago. You lose the.
That's actually very true. I
storyline. So
I haven't thought of it like that.
It's hard to hold a grudge for 4 weeks.
Yeah, as you say, if it's the next week, like fucking pay this one back. But as you say, you've
got 3 weeks to massage the relationship.
They go on 15 bike rides, 32 lattes, and they're over it.
But back in the day, and the next week you're like, I'm like, it's recent. I'm going to get you, and then you get him, and then that would flow because then the coverage. Oh, he's owed one, and it would build the drama. So there's lots of things like need to change in many ways, but the product is the best it's been from a racing point of view, I think. So there's really good stuff happening.
Yeah.
But what would you change? But then you don't sit in that, this costs that, and the team owner says, I don't have this money or whatever. Like I'm sure there's...
But there always is a way of justifying anything though, I think. Like you look at when we did the Melbourne Grand Prix and whether it's true or not, but some of the conversation around like we don't want to have the accident because of New Zealand being next.
Yeah.
But Melbourne Grand Prix, we celebrate that race in the lead up because it actually promotes that type of racing where you want to see them make. That's why the format is sprint, so that people take more risk because there's less points on the line. They might crash. So why would you put Melbourne Grand Prix ahead of the New Zealand one? Maybe you could do a single day event at Phillip Island, Winton, then go to New Zealand where those tracks are lower risk, and you fit in then 3 events, including the Grand Prix, before you go off to New Zealand. And even now they come back, and I think some of the teams, I think Brad Jones only got 2 days to turn his cars around before Tasmania, which is crazy to think we haven't raced since Tassie, and he gets 2 days. Like the poor
And
blokes.
he's got 4 cars.
Like the poor crew. It's not like they've got to sit on their hands, unfortunately, for a few weeks, and then
And they're building Toyotas.
And they're building Toyotas. It is. The calendar's one. Yeah, I mean, they need to do more races. It's always challenging, though, like you say. There's a reason, and I know there's a big cost, but I think there's some ways to shortcut it. And one of the ones with this year which bugged me was obviously being co-driver, selfish, but the testing doesn't really make any sense to me because now the only test day that Walkinshaw get is in Sydney Motorsport Park, which is $400 a day per person to travel to. They got to go early because the week of a race week, so they stay there for like 7 days, plus the launch, which was in Sydney on the Harbour Bridge. Queensland Raceway is the next one. And so we're like, oh, they're only doing 2 test days this year to save some costs. But it's like, well, fuck, now their test days aren't at Winton for a day trip. They've got to go to Queensland and spend an extra couple of days with the whole crew to run a test day. And the one before the bend is effectively your enduro one. So they've got to keep the boom set up, which means travel crew can't leave. Like the amount of work around it. So there is ways you can justify it, but also I think there's some low-hanging fruit we could probably start to look at, like the tyres. You know, there's low-hanging fruit we could definitely experiment and play with, I think.
There's all little things in there, but yeah, you just want the cars on track. Like,
yeah, especially when the product's as good as it is.
That's how I got. Yeah. That's how you get 621 starts or whatever, 615 starts because there was a lot of races. Where now it's 12 a year. So that's why, like, I don't know. Circling back along to one of your questions, do you miss the? We were really lucky in our era to see some of the best. Like the worst part is in life when you are doing something and it gets way better and all this cool stuff comes. But like the era that we were in, it was really cool. So you went to Shanghai, you went to Austin, Texas, you went to whatever. Like there was all these really cool things happening, 20 races a year. You know, Ford were in it, Holden were in it. Like there was really
you lived through a real.
So now you look at it, and like I love the sport, and I'm a fan for life, and love it. But there's things about it you like. It was really good. It has been really good. The sport, the racing now is better than it. I think it was back then. But there's things that you live that if you saw that coming now and you missed it, then you'd be real jealous because. That's the problem. You always miss that next thing that comes, but I'm not sure what that is now in the sport. It's at a holding point of
definitely is
a good product, but what's next, and that's
what do you put to being the success of like the peak period, like you're explaining when they were doing overseas stuff, they were racing a lot. Everyone was a household name. There was big money being thrown around. Like, is there something that you can identify being the difference as to why it's sort of changed to how it is now?
Well, back then you raced for the brand, like Ford went and got their drivers, Holden went and got their drivers, and there was actually deals with the manufacturer. So the manufacturer would build your profile and you were Ford, like to the point where you'd go to Phillip Island racing for Tickford and Lowndes was at 888 trying to win the championship and Ford comes down, the president of Ford, Marin Barella, who takes you to Geelong footy game, you're part of the family. And you bled blue, like you were blue. And he comes down and says, hey, we need Lowndes to win today because of the championship. It was like you were, although different teams, you were Ford. And you go to your team and say, hey, is this, yep, you got to help him out. Like it was, so back then you had that Ford feel. And that's, the fans felt that even more. Where now it's like a little bit, the Chev and the Holden side and, the Ford. And it's just changed a little bit from that side. I think Ford still kept its heritage. When Holden went to Chev, you lose a little bit of that. But, like, that's how it was back then. So if you felt it, the fans, they expected it. So they went to the track. And if a Ford won, they were wrapped. Where now it's like a Ford won, but I don't like that Ford team. I want that Ford team to win and I don't like that driver. And it becomes a little bit more individual, where back then it was brand. I don't know what
they're teams that run a Ford as opposed to being a Ford team.
But back then it was Ford. Like there was dudes with Ford tattoos that were just like, I don't care who wins. If Ford win, we all win. Like it was And it would build that rivalry. And then the repetition, like when you're on week to week, people watch you, your face becomes familiar. When you're on, like even me, I meet someone 4 weeks later, I'm like, where did I met that bloke from before? I was at your house 4 weeks ago. Oh shit, that's where, like, you forget, like, if they're not in your face, you forget things. And I don't know, waiting 4 or 5 weeks is too long. So I think back then the repetition was strong, the brand passion was strong. And free-to-air, it was on free-to-air every weekend. So it was like everyone watched it. You flicked across at some stage and it was really noticeable. You'd race and then you'd go Monday to the shops and you get stopped.
Wow.
Like where now you race, you go to the shops after the race, you get stopped. 2 weeks after, no one knows you. It's you lose traction. It's funny. So there's lots of reasons, but brand passion and that one umbrella thing and repetition, like they're the 2 reasons I reckon.
Yeah. I remember actually talking to you at one point. I was like at our old office ages ago at 19 and I went into a post office and you had said to me a few times, like after free-to-air rounds, I always seem to like have more people come up. And I was in a post office and the guy actually leant over and bought me a Snickers. I was buying the Snickers and he paid for it. And he goes, like, oh, good job on the weekend or something. And it made me think, it was a free-to-air round.
Hard luck, mate.
Yeah.
Well done.
Hard luck, yeah, exactly. Treat yourself, mate. I was eating for comfort. But yeah, actually probably was. But yeah, and it was that free-to-air. Definitely people stumble across it by accident, I think. And not everyone can afford to have, I know people complain about the cost of it, but not everyone can afford to have everything on pay. Like I know even AFL, a lot of the games now, it's hard. I think, was it Friday night games this year? None of them are...
Saturday, I think, isn't
Saturday?
it? Saturday, yeah. I went to the Fox Footy launch. I was listening to that. So
yeah, so none of them are on free-to-air on Saturdays, I think it is, which is huge. Like, and it is a shame.
massive.
And for our sport, that is probably, I reckon, I agree, it's a big thing. But when the manufacturing has stopped really in Australia, that's probably hard for us to... We need to find, like you said, we're in that transition period. Like, what is next? Because we can't rely on the manufacturer support anymore. There's got to be another way of building the drivers' profiles. Obviously, racing more regularly is one. The broadcast deal is going to be interesting. Well, there's a lot of things here.
Well, it's the commercial sponsorship, which means the only way you're going to get that if the drivers are stars.
Yeah. But
And people know who they are.
But even back then, like with Channel 7, you'd be on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
You'd be on, the cross promotion was huge.
Yep.
So
How are your moves? You all right?
They're all right, I guess.
Another side or two.
They're all right.
Frosty's probably similar to me. We don't rival you on a beer, that's for sure.
You go all right,
Elliot's got like...
For a bloke with banged up legs, you go all right.
He's two steps.
That's just him walking.
Unrivaled.
Like, and this looks like a move. He's like...
It's like at the start, I think it was, you said to me once, you're like, are you limping? And I'm like, yeah, I've got a fuck leg. Like, that's me. I just limp full time.
That was his dance move.
Yeah, exactly.
But like back then, they used to cross promote. So like you'd end up on... I did a show called The Blow Up, which was a balloon like making contest. They did like balloons and they turned them into like Lego, like the Lego.
Oh, like
show.
Lego Masters, like
Lego
something
Masters.
like that.
It was called Balloon Master or something. That was Channel 7. So it was, but like you're
right.
there with the guy off the castle, Steve Curry.
Yeah.
Steve Curry. Yeah.
Steph Curry. Steve Curry, it is.
Steve-
Curry.
Stephen Curry.
Stephen Curry.
Yeah.
He was the
Steve
host
Curry.
and like, but you'd end up, so people, you'd be popping up here and like literally popping up, but like you'd be here or there. Like, and so, but they, oh, you're that guy off the race. And then you go into a different market and where now we don't cross promote like, you know, like they did then too. So there's lots of reasons. There was a lot going on back then. And
I've heard Fox love supercars because our demographic's quite similar to the NRL. But when have we ever seen a supercar driver go on to, and I saw today, I was going through the pod lists and stuff. I keep a close eye on all the sports, and Matty Johns has like 4 pods. I don't ever remember seeing supercar drivers in the last, say, 3 years go on to an NRL podcast that's on Fox.
You and Will went on Fox Footy though, didn't you? Before
AFL here in Melbourne.
Yeah, was that before
That's
Fox
true, actually,
360?
yeah.
Was that before?
Yeah, that was last year. That was last year. Yeah, there you go.
Bathurst,
There's
yeah.
one.
but the footy side does a lot.
Yeah.
NRL not
And-
as much.
And Fox had said NRL is one of the big reasons they keep supercars too, because it's the same demographic. So it is odd not to see those cross promote more. Yeah, I had forgotten about the AFL one, but AFL, I think they do a bit. I've seen.
Fox have a lot though. Like they've obviously got the netball as well, and like they do have a lot of different programs. And also knew the other
Might
night.
be a different demographic to the netball, but
I get behind the Vixens, me, and then watch it on the couch.
I do laugh. I went to the Vixens on the weekend, so
You didn't invite me, you dog.
My niece is a big netball fan, she is, so we took her to the Vixens.
They've got so many shows, because I was saying to Scotty the other day, with the Fox NRL stuff, I was just jumping on KO, having a look, and they've got all the different shows. And I reckon they've got 8 or 9 different shows just on NRL.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of products there that they could, as you're saying, cross-promote and just try and make you guys...
The problem is, like, a lot of them, though, sometimes, like the football and the AFL, a lot of them know, like, if you go to a footy match...
You're not going to people that don't know who you are.
Yeah, you go to a footy match and people kind of... They're sport, they love sport.
Yeah.
Supercars falls in pretty well everyone's category. Not always their favourite, but they always watch it. Like, because everyone owns a car and a blokey thing is... And even females, like, if we had a Drive to Survive, like, you look at F1. I went to F1 on this year and I was in the corporate box. I tried to earn a bit of money in the corporate boxes when you're not racing, but... You go there and it's female dominated in some ways and they're all dressed nice.
Oh, it's crazy.
But they're there and it's, they watch the supercars, but the lifestyle, they follow Oscar and Lando and all those guys because...
We don't have Rolexes and champagne.
Yeah, but we do live a cool life.
Yeah.
And I think when we try and show that sometimes it doesn't potentially come out the right way. But like that Formula One's genius. And then you see, like even I watched... It was the golf one with Rory McIlroy and like golf's the boringest game to watch. And like I don't mind playing it, but I've never watched a whole Masters unless Greg Norman was about to win it and I'd turn it on and catch the end. But I was watching that show and I was like, oh, this Rory, mate, he's cool. And like all these guys that have no personality kind of coming through shows. I don't think. But then when we pop up on NRL, we get drawn into the NRL, how they kind of portray themselves or. We're always just a fluff in a little bit, like the AFL. AFL's huge, but we go there, people kind of know you anyway. But when you go on Dancing with the Stars or when you go on The Blow Up or if you you go on...
Real mainstream
if you go on Neighbours for a one-off or you go on, like,
Yep.
people watch, they don't know anything about our sport, but then they're like, oh, and then Google, social media, boom, you pop up and... I don't know.
I see what you mean. So reaching a demographic that's not aware of
completely separate.
So not even just the cross
even at the footy. How many times you go to the footy
point.
and people go, "Oh, hey Frosty," or "Hey Scotty," or like they know
They don't say, hey, Barbs?
Actually, I was looking at you, but I'm sure they
pump
do.
his
But like,
tyres up. I was at the Richmond Club social before a Collingwood game I went to watch, and a guy came in and actually said, "I love your podcast. Tell Barb's said a big fan."
Oh, there you go. Must be a raging alcoholic.
So there you go. And that was just in a Richmond, and that's because of the podcast though. Actually no one at Adelaide even said well done at Sandown or Bathurst or anything. Everyone said, "Oh, I like your podcast." Like everyone was yelling out. Will goes, "Has anyone actually congratulated you on your drive?"
Yeah.
And
It's actually nice for me because when I run like a busted ass, they don't come and they just say, "I like the show." I'm like, "Great, you didn't even see me run 20th. That's awesome."
you ran fourth. I was watching you.
Thanks, mate.
I got you.
there we go.
But that side is different these days as well. Like
That is very true though. Like as you're saying, like especially with Grant Denny's show and all that. If you popped a driver in every couple of weeks there and they were holding a suitcase randomly or something like,
we did Family Feud.
We did Family Feud. I think you might have been. I might have been on your team.
I was on the forward side.
Yeah, I might have been on your team. I can't remember. I would have been forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on it with
Family
you.
Feud.
Fuck, I don't.
But stuff
actually,
like
I remember that now. Actually,
I was actually Lee
that's what I
Holdsworth.
mean. Like you wouldn't remember anything from that year result-wise,
Yeah.
but you're on Family Feud or it's that's the cross promo that used to be cool. And that was
so we missed
what's
that
his name?
with-
Simon Francis was very big on it back in the day from Channel 7. He was the one that was like
pushing all that stuff.
he was making stuff happen, and then Warburton and all those guys, they were like, righto, we own the rights, you're going to hear because even that blow up, it was after James left Supercars, and he's like, you need a motorsport guy in there, get me. Like they've got that mindset that when they cross promo, and you're very lucky that these guys support you because that's what builds your profile. And then, Disney, the Disney stuff, like huge. When you see a market there, you go to school and people go, oh, your dad's Frosty, the car.
Yeah, that's
it's like,
huge.
oh, he races. They're like, yeah, you race Lightning McQueen. They don't know.
Yeah.
So you got to get out to that market and then with Fox, I don't know what shows they've got that would work, but having another show like The Traction or whatever it's called, like having that.
Well, they've only really got sports shows, like you're saying.
Sports shows.
It's only sports shows. So
Yeah.
you're right. It's
The Traction. You mean?
No,
Do you mean Formation Lab?
Formation Lab, like
That's it.
like the show, like it's just the same audience, which is great because they're trying to create content in between that.
But you got to
between the races, but like get on a reality show and sometimes some of the drivers don't want to do that. Like back in the day, you you do that because
You got to, right?
even if you can't cook, you go on MasterChef because like whatever
Pretty
it
steady
is.
cook. Oh, yeah.
But you get on one just to
We knew the reach it was going to get.
the reach you could get and the support you had from Simon Francis and those guys
Yep.
pushing it. Anyway, so
It's very true. I think the more you can do, the better, right?
Yeah, for sure. Especially, I'd never thought about. I'd always, thought it's surprising we don't cross collaborate so much anymore. But it's definitely outside of that group that already is aware of us. That's important. That's what we're missing as well.
This is why you get paid the big bucks, mate. You come in and you've solved it.
Just go change the sport.
yeah.
Well, they're looking for a CEO. Are you open?
I've got other stuff going on at the moment. But like I said, like the sport, that's what you want to see the sport and personality. That's why any sport you watch, you've got to have connection with someone. But you don't watch it because
I was never an AFL fan. I got to know a couple of players and their families, and now I go to the game with their families. And you have, like you say, once you know someone or feel like you know someone, even the pods. I started watching a bunch of AFL pods, and all of a sudden I feel like I know the players.
Yeah.
Like Ben and Harry.
But when they get
I'm
hit,
like, now I'll go to a game that I'm not following a team, and I'll see them and be like, oh, fucking, I'm invested in how they go.
But when they get hit, you're like, oh, you feel it.
Yep.
Like when we crash, people are like, oh, like.
Yeah. I'm calling for people to retire in the AFL now.
Yeah.
You're a real fan.
I kicked one from 20 the other day, so right in front.
I can't even run anymore in my league. But hey, I did want to let's get back into the racing stuff for you personally. So Tickford was, did you expect when you first joined Tickford to have the immediate success you had had? I mean, you'd had a very good junior career, but did you think coming into supercars that you'd get into that seat and finish? I think you finished third in your first season there.
Yeah.
Did it?
I got beat up at Larco's. I got beat up a bit, to be honest. But I didn't have an engineer, and at one point, Larco was engineering me, and he was on the board, and I'd be like radio check. No, he's still in the meeting, and lap 5. Hey, Frosty, it's Larco, I'm back. Like that was how I was
Started
racing.
and ended very similar for you then. I remember Team 18, you were on a contractor for race engineers.
I was, but Matty was a good guy. Come and had my back at Adelaide.
I had a beer with him in New Zealand. Very good guy, Matty Saunders.
But just that was. So you didn't know how hard the teams were. I was lucky that I rolled into Stone Brothers to start, and I knew what a race winning operation was. So you knew that you didn't have the same tools as other teams. So you always, I know we're pretty thick skinned. You always believe yourself, but then sometimes you don't ever have a chance to show it. But at Larco, I got a guy named Greg Wheeler. He was a South African guy, and he came in and saved my career effectively and engineered me for three or four rounds.
Right.
And my best qualifying was like, I'm going to say 15th or something. But at the time, Bargs was around this. Like we were just slow, but it was tough. He come in and I qualified third at Darwin. He changed the car and engineered it. And then straight away I was like, oh shit, I can drive. Like you just need that one turning moment because you get buried. And when you get buried, it just gets deeper and deeper. Yep. And then at that point, I was actually meant to go to Triple Eight at that time.
What year was that?
2000 and...
That'll be when they first come in, was it?
2006. So it was looking like I was going to go there and Whincup was going to go to Tickford.
Right.
Sliding.
And
I love the sliding door stuff.
Yeah, and I've got the full story in my book actually about that one. So
there you go. There's your.
You're going to make me read it. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
I've got to wait till September to get his book.
It's in a it's going to be in voice as well because I can't.
Oh, good.
I can't
Hopefully there's lots of pictures. I'll be right.
Yeah, there's lots of pictures. But then it all happened. And in that Larco car, I got third at Darwin, qualified 8th in the top 10 shootout at Ipswich. Straight away, your stocks go up because you can live off your results for a while, but when you're not getting them, you go further down the chain. Like what happened to you? You know, like you go down, and then you go to Triple Eight at Sandown, boom, he's going to go to Premier. Like you're straight back in the mix because you can drive one result. All the hard work you do gets paid off with, you get back in the mix. And that's what happened to me. And then I went to Tickford and I drove the car at a ride day at Phillip Island, and Tim Edwards hopped in and I did a faster lap with him in the car than I did in quali a week earlier in the Larco car. So I was like, shit, I'm on like this. And I joined at the right time. Bridie had done all the hard work. Yep. They had engine failures. They had all this stuff going on. And I slid in right at the right time. Like it was perfect. He did all the, and Bridie's exceptional. Like he's one guy that doesn't get the credit in the sport that he should have because his problem was he'd build the team up, exceptional guy, and he'd leave before he inherited all the hard work. And then he'd go the next job and do the same thing, build it up, and then it was like he wasn't ever satisfied. He'd fix it and move. When he should have fixed it, stayed, won a championship, then moved. Like, it was always a year out of cycle. So I inherited that good car. And then one of the guys at Larco's, Larco was a good guy, so he was a good cop. And then there was a bad cop there, a guy named Adam Perry, actually. I remember him very well. And he told me I'd never achieve anything in this sport.
What a prick.
And,
What's he doing now?
But anyway, so I went to New Zealand and I finished second and got a podium. And I went to the urinal and boom, I stood right next to him. So it was a very, like that.
That's sweet.
I don't say a lot. It was just,
And I bet your cock was bigger.
Yeah. At that time.
I was like, how do I say this?
At that time. After
Just dive in, mate. Just dive
At
in.
a podium it was. But that was like, funny. Life's funny, isn't it? But you're standing there just, all you had to say was, now how's your day going, mate? Like, you don't have to dwell into the
Check that out, son.
Yeah. But you don't get drawn into, But anyway.
You don't need to say anything.
Just, how's it going? And that was it. And then just walk out. And that was like, from that, like I knew, you always back yourself. Like as a driver, you're good, but they're all good. Everyone's good.
Yeah.
And we don't all get the opportunity. But from that moment, I knew, that car was bloody good. Like it was a good car. And that was the Saturday we had no sponsor and Sunday we had Broad IP sponsored the car. So Saturday it was a GT, just a GT stripe logo on the car, and Sunday Broad IP.
Was this the BA, mate? The white?
This was the BA.
The white and blue one. Was that?
White and blue, yeah.
Yeah, it had the GT. Yep.
GTs, yeah. So Saturday night that got ripped off, and then Sunday the Broad IP went on. And it was just like,
How good's that?
It was just happening, So, and then I wasn't the fastest that year. Like Bridie was faster, but he had a lot of mistakes and a lot of like crashes and a couple of mechanical things. But he was fast. Like he was one of those drivers that didn't keep secrets. He was like, okay, how'd you do that? He's like, well, just I did it. He taught me a lot.
Yeah, okay.
So I was very lucky that I was the generation sort of coming in, the young guy, but I had a really good guy teaching me. Like he was an open book, and that is very rare in our sport. Normally people, young guys coming in, he would just be like, no, I'm doing this. He groomed you to drive a car a certain way. And then when he went, then I inherited that next role. Like it all happened very quick. So, but that car and that team they're so well like resourced. It was always going to happen, and just joining at the right time and having the right people, and then having Bridie was really good. So,
was it a frustrating thing to look at it's not like your results. I know you and with T8 and the success they had after that must have been frustrating. Was it difficult or motivating in those years where you came? Because you got, I think, third, fifth, and then it was second, fifth, third, 3 times in a row, fourth, third, which was the Lounsey J-Dub pretty much. Yeah. And it must have felt like, and then you won, obviously, but it must have felt like if you were in that car, you would have won. Is that something that, I don't know, how do you handle that? Like, how did you feel about that at the time?
I actually felt good. Like, it seems weird. Like, they were the enemy to me. Like, it was weird. Like, and not because of anything hard done by to you, but they were like, I bled blue. Like, Ford got me into the sport. I won the Ford Kart Stars. Was very Ford, and racing for the Ford factory team was one of my best feelings. Yeah. And I never wanted to.
And a true factory.
I never wanted to leave Ford. Like I'm Ford through and through, and whether you say it or not, but I genuinely am. And like racing for the Ford factory team and having Ford head office there, it felt like you're going into this little Ford suburb. Like you drive there every day, and it was really cool. So I never wanted to race with them. I had the mentality. I'm wide, stupid, but like instead of just joining the winning car, I want to beat the winning car. Yeah. And to beat them is so tough. Like, and that's why people don't probably see like how good Triple Eight is and how hard they are to beat. People just think, just get that guy and you'll beat him. Or they're very hard. They're always there. Every year they're there. And to beat them was as satisfying. You'd rather 5 championships or whatever it is, but to beat them is so satisfying. So I found probably more enjoyment in that than just joining. Yeah. To join them and to have the team and the Ford, like I said before, the Ford army and people, you were their hope to win. It was a really cool feeling. I love carrying that sort of like expectation on your shoulders. Yeah. So I never regretted the decision. I was actually really happy how it turned out. Yep. And we fell short so many times, just like little bits. Oran Park, you had an engine thing fail in the last round. You just always fell short. It was always like 100 points, or it it was always so close. So that's why winning it, it was really satisfying. But to have the Ford, it was really cool. I really loved the Ford factory thing. It was really cool. You get the FPV, you had the, it just felt like you were going into Ford land. And when you win, the Ford people's support is stronger than Holden, I thought. Like, I felt like Holden had a few teams that they followed, where Ford, that was like, you're it. Like, it was through an era that, I guess DJR and that, they weren't as strong as they become. You know, they got their next generation shift and went again.
Yep.
But Ford was it. You go to Bathurst, hopes are on that team.
Yeah, that's a good
Like, it was a good feeling.
What about with Cam then right now? Because he's in a similar situation where he is a championship driver in the waiting. You know, I really feel like he's a master in qualifying. I know this season already they've had a couple ups and downs and things, but he is a guy, you put him in the best car and on the day he's the best driver on the day or whatever. You know, he's up there with anyone that can win a championship. And there's probably only 5 you'd say if you gave him the car, they will win the championship. How do you think he deals with something that's probably similar to you now? Do you advise or do you ever, chat to him about that and how he approaches, because I'm sure he's probably somewhat frustrated, but I'm sure motivated as well. That was why I asked the question as well, is where does that experience go when you are now paired with Cam in a similar situation against Triple Eight and the likes of Walkinshaw?
There's just more good teams now too. Like, even Matty Payne, and they're fast. Like, these young guys now are fast, and their teams they've all poached someone from somewhere to build the team up. Yeah. And they're all getting, with the way the cars are now, it's gone from engineering a car to having the numbers in the car. Like, it's not, back in the day you had, to be successful, it would take you 6 or 12 months to build an upright, or didn't happen overnight, where now you can just go and buy that guy, put those numbers in. Like George Cummins, he's gone to DJR and
they're already doing it.
It's almost like plug and play, and they inherit the Erebus car almost straight away and then put this twist on it and go. So it's a little bit different, I think, now.
So do you think you stay even more focused on your own little bubble and try and maximise that?
I think, well, you can't get drawn into, I don't have this, I don't have that now. So you've got to perfect what you got. So I think, like, even Cam, like, had breakfast with him this morning. So it's really enjoyable getting back with him because he's a very quiet, serious, he's very focused, but he asks a lot of questions. People don't see, he's a very open book, and he has a trust circle of people that he really trusts, and that's why him and I get on really well, because when, circling back without waffling too much, but with the Bridie stuff, I took that mentality into any of the young guys that come in.
Support them, open book.
Yeah, and when Cam come in, it was like, how can I help? And we got on really well. So to go full circle and go back with him, it's nice because he knows I'm not trying to do the wrong thing by him. And even when I raced him for the years I wasn't at Tickford, like, there was times where he'd put the blinker on and be like, fuck, we still raced each other like teammates. So we've had a lot of respect. So he's a very good operator. People don't see how good he is because they see him sometimes, he's almost like Piastri a bit, like the emotion, he doesn't show a lot of emotion.
His pole lap at Bathurst, do you remember his post-race interview? He did effective, I think it was it wasn't appreciated as much as it probably should have been. That lap he did where he did first 203, like it was better than McLaughlin's lap.
Remember we watched it at home?
Yeah.
You're already back.
Yeah, we did.
You're already back at the house.
But I remember watching the interview and it's like if he was more up and about, people might have...
Yeah.
It kind of went under the radar and you're like, dude, he just did like a low 3.
But you look at guys like Murph, they're super animated. Yeah. So when you see a lap and that pours out, shit, that was special. But Cam's like Piastri, like you watch Piastri and you're like, you just won the Miami Grand Prix and he's like, that was it.
Yeah.
But those guys are they're the guys at school you don't want to fight because you don't know if they're angry, they're going to kick you in the head, they're going to kick you in the shit. You don't know what. So I think Cam does it really well, but he's a very smart guy and he's very calculated. So he asks a lot of questions and looks for answers he wants and uses his resources really well. So I think he handles pressure really well because he's the poker player and he's got a really good shot at this year for sure.
Yep.
But the way the rules are that it's that final 4 rounds, it's going to spice it up. So, but he's in the mix for sure.
Well, we said too, because Cam's so good at Adelaide as well.
So and Gold Coast, Adelaide.
Yeah. So
So's Triple Eight.
There's a few. So's Chaz.
So's Chaz.
Oh yeah, I know. There's other guys, but like he is.
Yeah.
He is very, very strong on those high risk, high reward tracks. He's always.
It's going to come down to allies a bit too, I think, end of the year, because you almost want to be in a team where you're really good and your teammate's not, because you want them
to play tail gunner and
Well, when you get to final rounds and there's 2 guys from one team, that's a disadvantage. So it's going to be interesting how it plays out.
That's a
It's-
great
I don't think, and that could work against Triple Eight at the moment. But I mean, Matty Payne's right there. This is where, like for Cam, I mean, I think Randall is on the bubble, isn't he, of the top 10 at the moment?
Yeah.
So he really needs to try and make it at least through to the in the end of the sprint championship.
Yeah.
I still don't know.
But then it'll get eliminated.
works.
People will get
Yeah.
dropped off.
Yeah.
And he's very fast too, Randall. So
Yeah.
he might be, a couple of good rounds and you bounce up. But
Yeah.
I think you need allies at the end of the year. It's going to be interesting how it plays out. And that's, as a race fan, I like this format. I think this should have been in the sport a long time ago. And it's cool that they do stuff it's ballsy because it's changed the sport, isn't it? But
I think it's great though that like it is ballsy, but it's also not because it's so conservative to do the same thing. If you take a risk, this is where the fans hopefully just support it. If it's not amazing, if it doesn't work exactly, that's okay. At least they had a go and did something.
have a go, yeah.
And then if it doesn't, you got to be prepared to tune it. Hopefully the category goes, okay, let's look at what the negatives were at the end of the season. How can we adjust for next year? It should be like a moving target. We're constantly trying to evolve, take some fan feedback, speak to the drivers. I mean, you got to be careful when you take from the drivers and teams because even I remember Will when it came out, he was like, "Fuck, I was hoping to at least have a few years of like a very stable type championship." But I think it's good.
Yeah.
there's nothing worse than someone wrapping it up before the last round. And Wingcup did it quite a few times, which was shit. But
Like he won at Winton one year or something.
you go to the last round and there was like, they're already been on a bender for the last 3 weeks. Like it was just like, it was a waste of
Yeah, those Sundays at Homebush when it went down to the wire are the coolest.
best.
And they're still the highlight reels today. Like that's
Yeah.
what we need. And we're going
Homebush
to
was
get that.
the tits.
We'll get that though
That
at
was
Adelaide.
good. That was a good joint.
We'll get that at Adelaide. I wanted to get to water breaks. This was something that come up in our group chat today for Apex Hunters. I had it in Super 2, but apparently Tickford was really innovative with, do you know how it all worked and stuff? Like, so can you explain it? Because I think fans, it's something that can't be used now. And the water breaks was, like, even in Super 2, it was just amazing. Like, it was
I didn't have it, mate.
your
You
tire
did.
life. Yeah, but
we're
I
the
mean, don't worry, it still
pioneers.
wouldn't have made up for the driver deficit for you, mate. But yeah, like, what can you tell us about? Because I think fans would love to hear about that period where, like, you guys were innovating. You talked before about it would take 6 months to make a new upright, and that's where you'd find a bit of speed. And we don't get that with Gen 3. It's like it's cool either way, but the water brakes is a cool.
It was the best. And it's purely Tickford. They pioneered it. So,
Yeah.
and we got away with it for 3 months before it could be copied because it was a big engineering project. But it was literally a big water tank in the boot. So we it was 40 kilograms. We carried 40 kilograms of water. So like when you talk about weight and all this sort of stuff, it was 40 kilograms of water that we would carry. And back in the day, you could spray onto your brakes to cool them down for the rotors. But the engineers realised that if you just turn onto the rim, you can
cool the tire.
literally maintain rim temp, which kept your pressures almost, they wouldn't grow. But we were going through, it was like an irrigation system. So you'd have setting 1, 2, 3, 4, and it was done off telemetry. So when you were braking, it would come on, or when you were accelerating, it'd come off, and you could change the time with the dial. So we had 4 settings. And one day, at Bathurst, I'd oversteer, and they go, right, mate, setting 4. So it was like, tuk, tuk, and yeah, we're good now. But you had to manage the water because it was a fine tune between
Flooding the track.
Well, I remember Van Giz. He was on the radio at he had the wipers on. It was like we had that much water coming out. But
That's why he mentioned it. It was him that asked us to.
it was, yeah. But he had the wipers on. He was on the radio. Oh, it's bullshit. Right. We're like, right, mate, setting 2 just for a little bit. Can you please? Like, just trim down the water. So,
Fuck.
yeah, it was good. But then Triple Eight got on board, and then so I think now people try to ban stuff. Where back then you just go, I'll just make a better one. That was the mentality.
Yeah.
Where now it's he's like the policing's different.
Yeah. I guess it sort of stops some haves and have-nots though.
It's stopped. But
I get that, but also it's motorsport and
was
innovation
cool.
is part of the process, isn't
yeah,
it?
it was cool. Like it was just a really cool system. So, and we could maintain tire, and you didn't have tire failures because you could run them higher to start, and you just maintain them. But it's like a bleed valve, effectively.
Yeah, like, wow.
But you had to carry 40 kilos. So there was a weight penalty. But
And did you top that up
game.
at places like Bathurst where the race was so
Yeah, you
long?
could top it up. Yeah.
So what, instead of your drink bottle, they'd be plugging in water into
You'd have 2, and they'd it was the best. So we went through. Yeah.
How many leagues would you go through?
The old Warragamba Dam probably dropped a bit. We'd go through a lot. So 40 kilos a stint, 7 stints.
Yeah, so you'd drain it over a stint.
Yeah. Yep.
That's really cool. And what year was that? 11 and 12 or 11 till 12?
Yeah, it was around that era. Yeah. Yep. 11 and 12. Yeah. But it was cool. Like, and then someone else would make something, and then like they'd make the 95% throttle stop, and then that happens. And then this guy makes the re-roll bar telescopic thing, and then this guy makes a different thing. Like, there was always innovation going on, but the small teams just couldn't keep up, and they didn't sell. You don't sell your good stuff to customers. So like it did push the gap a little bit, but some cool stuff. Like when you look, and that's what I mean, like the era back then, it seems like we've gone, what's that, almost 20 years now, 15 years down the track.
Yeah.
Some of the technology was really cool back then. And that was like guys like Jace Gray and those guys, you know, like they'd get on the radio, hey, come mate, setting 3. It was like not fuel conservation, we'd have water conservation. It was bizarre. Weird way to race.
You can see now why it's actually a bit of a challenge to keep a really good engineer satisfied. Like Jeremy Moore leaving AAA, I don't think it's because he's unhappy anywhere. It's just he needs to be challenged, and those guys want to be stimulated. Like you talk about a qualifying lap for a driver. As a engineer, they're probably looking for the same rush out of creating something or designing something that when they stand the top step, they're like, I did that. You know, there's something there that they did. They pushed the boundaries.
Yeah, like, and just back then there was really good stuff happening, and sometimes they'd fail. Like you'd do something and it would fail, but then like that was part of the sport. So whether it was something, you know, you put in and you think it's bulletproof and you do this funky control arm, or you do something, bang, he's in the fence because the control arm fails, and it was part
like
of
old
it.
school F1 when that
but it was
shit
part
was being
of it.
tested. Yeah.
And then because you do it at Winton, but then you didn't account for it bouncing off the curbs at Adelaide or something, but it created the drama because you pushed the limits and you went over the limits.
Yeah.
And that was the sport back then. Where now is very controlled and give us 5 mil of rear roll center, and it's a big change. You know, it's changed a lot. So, but they're both good. They both serve a purpose. But yeah, back then engineers were just in there looking for innovation, whether it's trumpet lengths, whether it was like the amount of stuff. Like Jace Gray, who was my data for 7 years and then engineered me, he just went and YouTubed how to like do engine stuff. He YouTubed how to do so they were just all in this. I've got an idea, bang, they'd go off. And then come back and, can I have 50 grand because I've just created this really cool, all right, bang, 5 horsepower. Like, but he's not an engine guy, but they just all, so they never got bored because they just, if they had an idea, they got supported. And if the idea got proved, it got funded. And it was cool. It was really cool back then. But
financially, it's hard for a sport to continue doing that, I guess. But I see both sides and why it's enjoyable. I remember like Ambrose came back from NASCAR and we're at Sandown and he goes like, in the straights, everyone's the same. He's like, I used to fucking pass people on the back straight at Sandown.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, it doesn't really happen anymore. Like that was his big adjustment, was like, we used to have advantages, whereas now it's, which I can see, I think there's pros and cons to it. I think it's hard to attract people from like Europe and things without this. You know, if you want to bring in someone like a Ludo back in his day or Jeremy, or it's definitely going to be a challenge to attract those world-class engineers from international to come out.
Yeah.
But also it does probably give opportunity to guys here that are just as good that might not have got those opportunities prior as well to step up into, you know, engineering roles in supercar teams.
When you left Tickford, mate, what was the motivation to go to a place like Team 18? Was there, because obviously you just said how much you bleed blue and all of that sort of stuff, really happy home for you, obviously at Tickford and FPR. What was that, what sort of drove you over there to the Chevland and to Team 18?
Well, I never really went to Chevland, to be honest. Like, I think the team's dictator actually was trying to get Team 18 to swap to a Mustang at the time.
Oh, really?
But like, I'm not against one or the other, but just for me, super loyal and whatnot. But then, because, I don't know, it was funny, like with Tickford, I'd been there for a long time, I'd succeeded, I kind of felt satisfied. And the next challenge was, I don't know, it doesn't get stale, but sometimes you got to, I don't know, you look for new challenges, you know, and that was, I got sold, you know, the dream and the one car, and it was kind of, had a lot of communication, so he used to ring me, you know, Charlie would ring every day, and it was a good sell really at the time, and it was a good challenge. Like, I had to turn a team that was last into something special, and it felt like something I was like embedded in. And that's why when I did go there and commit, I tried to do it respectfully because, you know, I'm so, and even though I'm back at Tickford now, but I was so grateful and about, what I had at Tickford, because it was an amazing 13 years, and what we achieved and the relationships and all that, it was really strong, and even when I went, I still maintained all that because they're like family. You race and they had your back, and we achieved a lot. So when I swapped, it was a hard decision. Like, to make that decision is very tough because you have comfort in where you are. You're getting sold a lot. We're going to get this, we're going to do this, I want you for this. So you get sold a lot, and I took the challenge. I don't regret it. It's one of those things you do everything for a reason and you live by it, and that's how it is. But I did feel like I turned that team into something a lot better than what it was. So, and that's why I think the way it ended, when you put so much into it, that's why it hurts more. If it was just a normal deal and you just got flushed out, you'd just be like, is what it is. But I sacrificed a lot to go there, and I had a deal at Tickford to stay, and it was comfortable, and I was in a good car, and so I took the risk to go there, and probably that's what hurts when you get sort of shit on at the end a bit. But we did some good stuff, and then we went from 1 car, 2 cars, and we got some good results, like a race win in a team that hadn't had a race win for 338 races or something, and you got podiums, and I got podiums, and we were top 10 runners, and it was building. But I just think, I realised when I've gone back to Tickford, loyalty is really important, and good people are important, and some things are short term, some things are long term, and what was it, 6 years in the end or something? So it was, a decision I made. And Renee was sketchy at the start, to be honest. She's a good judge of situations, I guess. But anyway, she supports me through everything, and end of the day, I'm lucky that Tickford value me, and I've ended up back there. But I don't regret it. You've got to make decisions, and tough decisions sometimes. And I didn't ever want, and I'm not saying I'm not Chev or Holden or anything, but on my shirts, I didn't run a Holden logo. I ran a Barry Burke logo because I just felt I was still forward. Even though I was driving something, it was like, it's not my decision to drive it, it's the team's, and I'm just driving it because that's what he chose to drive. Yep. So even on my merch, I didn't wear...
I didn't know, so you never had the bow tie?
I had Barry Burke, so who was a great supporter and still is. They still supply me with the car, and great people. So I built relationships with the dealer. So I took the manufacturer mentality out of my head. I think I had to kind of blur it to go. I don't know, got it out of my system a bit. And then when I went to Chev, it felt like that whole manufacturer thing changed a bit. But then I realised when I'm back in Ford, I'm like, it's not right to leave, like it's a funny feeling. So, but they're the reasons. New challenge, part of the management group, kind of running a team more than just being a driver, just different challenges. And it was definitely a challenge, but we did some good stuff. And that was, you got to be proud of what you achieved there, because it's, 370 races and 1 win, and that was it. It was a big moment, one of your better wins of your career, So, it was tough. It was tough, but good results as well.
It definitely was one of those places. Like it was tough, and obviously, like, I was there with you for 3 years, and I remember there was times where Charlie would say things to me about you in confidence that made me feel quite uncomfortable, because I knew that there were times when I was having a hard time that I knew he'd be saying the same to you. And as a driver, it doesn't instill confidence when you hear someone shit can your teammate who he loved at the beginning, and then it has 3 or 4 bad races, and all of a sudden is doing a backflip on. We've heard today the same with David Reynolds is happening. Yeah. And it's frustrating, because you're like, there's so much to this, and that's why I think, like, people need to appreciate there's poaching that happens up and down the lane, but it's really hard to replicate like what T8 do, or the success Tickford and Walkinshaw have had. It's not just one person. There's so much involved, and it's quite easy to. I heard someone once compare it to like AFL teams will sack a coach because it's easy to like get rid of one person rather than solve a problem, and then sell the dream for the next 12 months or 18 months, and then if that doesn't work, they sell the next dream and try and keep sponsors coming in. And that was definitely like, that was a learning curve for me. Like, that was at the end of my career, but it was still something that I'll never forget. And that's where like loyalty, and that's probably my returning to Red Bull or Triple Eight, that has actually made me feel more confident in myself again. Like when I made a mistake at Bathurst, I walked in and like no one turned on me. It was just like, oh, okay, like there's still faith in me, you know, and that even a test day, like there'll be times you run around old tires, you feel shit. And it's like just the things people say to you, you know, and it's like, it makes a big difference. And that's the stuff I think when you return to a good team that, I don't know, I hear you. I think, you know, it's hard to describe, but hopefully fans do get some insight into that and what makes teams. But loyalty is a really big thing in a way. It makes a driver feel is important.
I think the good part, like at Team 18, was that we had good people, even though because owners are always emotional, you know, like they run successful businesses. So it's never, you know, some are more, you know, probably realistic than others, I guess. But we were lucky there because Hendo, Ripper Bloke, Bruin,
Richard Holway,
Bruin, those guys, like they actually, and Dennis and those, you know, Johnny, Mitch,
so many. So many on the
Josh
crew. Josh, saw him in Taupo as well.
They have your back.
Yeah.
So it's only when there's a shift in management, the one who reports to the owners, that can make or break their opinion. Because if a team owner says something to a manager and the manager goes, mate, it's a car, it's not them, that's the conversation squash. But when there's a guy that we can do better than that, because it's never them, because they're protecting their job. So that middle person is very important, and that's where, you know, I think these dramas kind of come into it because they can say what they want, but it's that middle person where I think, you know, teams like Tickford, they run like a business. They're not run like a hobby or a bit like a good racehorse, and I bring my mates there and I'm on TV, and they run like a business. So when, you know, guys like Simon, who's the CEO there, you know, I did all my dealings with him, and Rod was in the background going, hey, pigeons fly home, and, you know, all that sort of stuff. You know, homing pigeons, they come home, you know, like, but enough to make you feel loved. Like, and Rod and I've been very close, been on trips, and we get along really well. But you take that emotion, friendship out of it, and you bring in the businessman, and he comes and does the deal. And it's professional because you can do this, this, and this. I can do that, that, and that. Like, it's fine.
It's done.
And then Cam's got your back. I need Frost. Like, I want him in the car. And then you get Matty Roberts, who's a good mate, like, righto. Like, they got your back. And if you have a crash, they got your back. If you win the race, they're there with you. Like, they're the guys. And Team 18 had that. Like, I think they had really good guys. But eventually when they leave, you end up with something. There's still good people there, but it's just that's the voice that can draw into, and we all have it in life, gossip. Gossip can be, you can squash it or you can buy into it. And that's happens in race teams a lot, doesn't it? So,
it does. It's
and
not
same as
uncommon.
you, like if I had something going against him, I'd be like, go speak to him yourself.
Well, we actually...
Well, I was going to ask, how was he as a teammate? I reckon it'd be shit.
we had that... Do you remember the blue in the car park? It's that was a good one.
But he thought I was against it, but I actually wasn't, like, in some ways. Because, like, end of the day, if they say something, whenever a team owner says something or, I'm like, go tell him yourself, because I'm not there for that. You're not there for that drama.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just some things let things slide because sometimes they just blow up. And 90% of the time you're right, but you achieve nothing sometimes arguing and you're this and you just sometimes... And I'm lucky with Renee and the kids because I go home and I'm like, she goes, how's your day? I'm like, my head hurts. And that was like, you can't believe some of the shit we just did. But switch off.
Yeah.
But if you stew on it, then it just builds and becomes... So I sometimes try to squash things because we all like... You say what you think, which is like... You're right. Most of the time you're right. But sometimes they take offence because it's like, well, it can't be me, it's him. It can't be him. And then... So then I just try and squash things because it's like...
Yeah, like some debriefs, I'd probably... I
But I'm just like, all right, I'm done. Like I already had... We're getting nowhere, like just go. So like...
Yeah.
But you have a... When it means so much to you, you get angry because it's like...
It's your life.
It's your life. It's what you do.
Yeah.
And they can dictate your career. So you take it personal, but sometimes you get nowhere. So it's like... It's just it's a nightmare. I used to come out of that sometimes and I'd have the worst headache. I'd be like, my head's hurting. And that day I think I was like... I'd had enough. I was like,
I was loading my dirt bike up. Frosty come out and we're like face to face, like having a spray. And I think after 5 minutes we realised that we were on the same side. Yeah, but we were like we were into it, like, and we're.
But it turned from this to a cuddle, did it?
Not quite, but like Bruin and Dennis actually drove up next to us. Remember that? They stopped and said, "Are you guys all good?" And then we're like, by that point, I think we were like, it was on the way down. And then we realised that actually we weren't against each other. and it ended up
arguing
being,
for the same thing, but just completely different ways of achieving it. And it's like, I'm with you. Like, just, I'm like,
you're not fucking listening.
Yeah, you're not listening. So,
But yeah,
anyway, we sorted it out. And then from then, like, you just got to know that your teammate's not against you. Like, and because that's where it turns nasty. And that's where, like, guys like Reynolds and that, like, I love Dave. Like, he's a really good guy and we get along really well. And even, like, New Zealand, I messaged him, like, hey, mate, I'm thinking of you, you know, like, I know you can drive. Your car's just shit. Like, it's just
it's as simple as that.
you
it's temporarily forgotten.
but you get drawn into it because then a car's up the front, and then the management's wearing that shirt on that car, and then
They start whispering about you.
and then it's like then you start going, oh shit, is like you can like even me, like when in my final year, I said to Renee, team's talking to Brody. I know he is. Like I could see it. And then people deny things and that, and then you ask, they could approach me. And, like you just know.
Yeah.
We know.
I mean,
But when you're winning, they don't. There's love, and that's where good teams don't show that. I think, and that's why they're up the front because they don't. You can't run on emotion. You got to run on your skill set.
Yeah, and you kind of know where you stand as well. I've kind of found that it's like you're not sitting there going like hearing rumors or hearing things. You kind of always know where you stand. If you're not performing, someone's telling you, "Hey, look, we're not overly stoked with this. Like, you need to do better," and that's okay.
And if you're not, you're out.
Yeah, and we're all used to that. It's when you don't know, and then you got people that. Yeah, it's definitely that transparency is number one as well.
I think too, like because it's such a money sport, motorsport, and in a team like Team 18 where you've got an owner that's probably putting some cash in as well as the commercial partners.
Yeah, it's a big investment.
You can read body language and feel an environment
feel
really quickly. When you know someone's got the shits because the results aren't maybe what they want, plus they're doing their nut on it, like you can just feel it, can't you?
At the end of the day, like
That's why I don't own race cars though. You got to be like if you want to play the game, it's fucking expensive, and you keep putting.
Oh no, but I'm saying as a driver or anyone, whether you're a crew member, you would feel it more so because, as you say, it's not
you're
run.
invested in it. But but they can make whatever decision they want. Like I'm never. But you can't have surprise. You just got to be honest, and good people do that, and just it is what it is, you know. But like they can choose whoever they want. They own it. Like I had a racehorse for a little bit.
Did you?
I didn't get to choose a jockey, but but you should be able to. If you want to put that jockey on, go put that jockey. Sure.
If you think that's the difference, go for it.
Why the hell did you own a racehorse?
I only owned a very small percentage, and
Like its toe or something.
it didn't last
I don't think
very
they
long.
even have
But like like if they own the team, they should be able to. If they want you, they put you in. If they want him, they put him in. But you can't pick and choose when you want someone. If you commit, contracts are done. Like for me, I'm probably worse. A handshake, and that's like that means more than that's the Elizabeth Doonside way. But but like I'm with you for 2 years because if you join the team and the car shit, you can't go anywhere.
Yeah,
Still
that's
got to
right.
smile and do it.
Yeah, you got to write it out. Yeah.
But if you go there and have a bad run, they've got to support you, and that's some teams do it really well, some struggle. But end of the day, it's their hobby. It's their like lunchbox, isn't it? Where they can do what they want. So it's what it is.
Well, you're definitely one of the most popular drivers because we got a heap of fan memos, didn't we, Scotty?
We'll play a few. There's a lot. We had the same with Murph, whereas like they were
They just love you guys.
flooded in. But we will play a few of the fan memos because we love letting the people have their own little chat on here. Here we go.
Hey boys, great pod, fantastic job, and congratulations Frosty on a great career. Just wondering if you've ever thought of giving GT racing a go or any other form of racing. Just your thoughts on it. Cheers, boys.
Yeah, good question. Thanks for that's what I like about us. That's what I love. If you're a decent person, they're good people out there.
Yeah,
This is what makes our sport. But I don't know. GT racing's funny. You need to be in a good car. Like it's funny. There's we go through this whole.
You say
No,
that
it's
like,
the same as supercars then, is it?
I just had the same thought.
We
Yeah,
go
you say
through
that
this
like it's so
whole
unique.
career of parody and this.
Yeah.
But there's the parody.
BOP is shocking.
ridiculous. Like I raced the BMW with Richo in 17.
That's right.
16? 17.
Yeah, that's when I was in the Audi.
Yeah, but we went and they come in and they turn the engine down, and it's like, what'd you do that for? We should be going fast. Like, don't we turn this thing up? And then no, we don't turn it up till Sunday morning, but you can't do it in the first stint. But by stint 4, we'll turn it up, and it's like
they're all sandbagging.
aren't we meant to go fast? Like the thing, like I said before, when you miss, thing I miss about racing is putting the belts tight, green tires, and just doing the lap, trying to beat the lap record. And in GT racing, it feels like you just determined. They tell you how fast or slow you can go. But there's some good cars, and you need to be. That's what I mean. You need to be in a good car. So, I I don't know. I haven't really thought about actually enjoying that transition, to be honest, because like problem is some guys, they need racing to survive. Like they just, but I'm actually like, I'm so happy just putting my trackies on in the morning, taking my boy to school and
That's so good.
living like, I don't like it's almost, it's somewhat fake, the motorsport side, like in some ways, because that's not who we are. Like we're bogans, you go home and you just.
Tell me about it, mate. I'm jumping you. Go Diggers Rest soon.
But like, you know what I mean? Like you just, so then you've got to be this commercial polished, but it's actually nice to not have to. So I'm enjoying that.
You should go do a one-off race in New Zealand. I just did one.
I saw it.
The Kiwis over there, they know how to go.
That was a
car
good
racing.
start too around the outside. I saw that.
Oh, yeah.
That was big.
It was my only highlight.
Don't pump him up, for
that was
God's
big.
sakes, mate.
That
Do
was
not
big.
pump him up.
It was only because, it was my only highlight.
About
so I
every
clipped
second day, text and go, hey, remember when I went around the outside of those blokes?
Yeah, that
Oh,
was
fuck
big.
off.
That was big.
But
That's what he said when I walked in. But
I'm with you though. Like some one-off races like that, I think you'll love right now, because I think like you go through. I mean, you did 21 years of a solid championship where your sole focus.
You're probably
is
due
on
a
that.
spell.
But doing a one-off race and going having some fun like that's been the best thing ever for me. Like I have found, because I was burnt out at the end too, and like you said earlier, and I probably didn't like going car racing at the time. Now, when the odd thing pops up, I love doing it. And then obviously Sandown Bathurst or Tailem Bend and Bathurst this year, I get pumped up for those. But yeah, those one-off race weekends, I would say, is good. Going and doing a championship's quite hard, especially I can only imagine after 21 seasons of that, you finally get to be home with your three boys and Renee, and you get to
Go to every footy game and everything.
actually,
basketball
yeah,
game and-
yeah, that's a different
One
thing.
of the best things is like Brazil stock cars was so cool. So if they rang and said, "Hey, we want to," I'd be there in a heartbeat, because that car is like, it's like supercars, but it feels like another level. Like it's not as,
Are they faster?
it's not. They're like a GT supercar hybrid, less power, more grip,
Yeah.
good Pirelli tyre, all that sort of stuff. So if they rang and said, "Come do that," there's 46 cars on the grid, covered by 0.4 of a second. Like, and then if you're not fast enough, you get exposed. If you're faster on the front row, like I love that. Like that was cool. That was really cool. So if they rang, I'd go there in a heartbeat. But the GT stuff, if it's a good car and a good team and good people, you go and do it. But you have to race with a pro am, so you have to be connected with the am, because it's like racing enduros 8 times a year. So you need to have someone that you help groom, and it's not just a drive the car type.
There's a relationship.
There's a
You've
relationship.
got to coach someone, mentor them, and then
So it's a different thing. But there's cool guys out there and cool cars. But at the moment, I'm not.
Just quickly on that mentoring thing, not to go into it, but I think it's great what you're doing with the Tickford guys, because after I chat with Murph, all of us, and especially for you guys at that level, what you've done and how long you've done it for, there's so many good life lessons that, like when you write your book, you don't even realise how many people will get something out of your lessons. And what you're doing for those guys is going to be providing, it's hard when you're young, but you're 1 year out of main game, and you'll go to Bathurst as a contender this year. So those kids hopefully just soak up everything you say. But I think it's awesome what you're doing, because you'll be able to give so much back to them through your lessons here,
It's funny because
your experiences.
When I went to Sydney, I thought, because I said to them beforehand, because we did a training camp, and I was like training with them, and I'm running, and I'm like, I'm ready to go. Like I felt, but what am I training for? I'm just like, what am I training for? But anyway, can't switch off from that. But then, so you meet the kids, and they're just good kids. Like they're trying to make it, and it almost invigorates you, because you remember being that kid, and they're hungry, and they're just ready to go, and you actually. I think seeing guys succeed, and even Cam, when I helped him back when we were young, and he does quali laps, I'm like, shit, that was cool. Like actually, you have investment in those
part
guys.
of it now.
Yeah, and you sit back and watch them come through. So at Sydney, I said to them, like, if you want me, I'm there for you guys. But I thought I'd get like 5 minutes and be like, hey, go deeper at one, and that's it. And,
they're chewing your ear off.
I didn't leave the truck. And then Cam goes, are you going to come over and like, I'm like, no, he come over to us in the Super 2 because he wanted to come hang out and say hello and ask a couple of questions.
Yeah, right.
We were in the truck. So it's funny, things like, and when you're not emotionally invested, you see so much. And like with the onboards, I was sitting there and it's like, Ruben, very good driver, just fast, but needs to control what he's doing. So like he went purple, 18th, something. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Just fix this lineup a bit. Bang, purple. Like they react. And it's like, that was more satisfying in some ways than some of the laps you do yourself, because you're like, they listen, they adapt, and like even the start line, do this throttle, this throttle.
They should definitely listen to you on starts. It took me, I was in, I think, 12 years. I reckon about 10 years in, I worked out my starts because I just went to a test day with Phil Keat and copied your starts. So if any of those kids want to learn
I'm
to
trying.
start,
It's one of my big legacies I'm trying to pass.
Yeah.
I should be a drag racer, but
I definitely, that was huge.
stuff like that. But you end up in the truck and I'm like, and Cam had the race of his life and they were banging doors down the straight and everything. And we're in the truck looking at onboard from the quali and they're like, we won. I'm like, oh, like we were that busy.
I've got a Super 2 race to win over here, guys.
But so it's good. Like
That's awesome.
And if you go in, you got to go all in and everything.
Yeah.
And that's why, like even the test day I went to but they're good kids. It's actually.
Do you get to drive? What's the rules? I don't even know for us. Are you allowed to drive on these
Got to be careful what I say because I don't know the rules. So.
He's like, I drove every car.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
40 laps in each.
I'm not sure.
300 laps this year.
But just good people. And and they respect you. It's actually nice. They're like, oh, hey, Dad's here. And they give you a big hug and like they have fun and it's infectious. Like it's nice to see. Because when you race, you're like, like we spoke about before, hop out on your 18th. It's like, you were shit. And like we hop out with them and right, boys, we're going to do this. Come in. Let's talk. Like your preparation on tyre warming wasn't right there. Let's get this right. They go out and do it and they go purple. And you're like, that's cool. Like
Sponges.
Gives you perspective on a sport we were probably bitter with in the end from our own performance perspective. You come back and you get a bit of perspective on like someone trying to do what you were lucky enough or fortunate enough to do for 21 years. And you actually sit back and go, fuck, those 615 race starts are actually pretty cool.
Yeah, they're good kids. And then their parents are cool. Like, it's
That's
funny.
awesome.
Like, you can...
I know Rylan and Jeremy Rylan's dad. I used to race against in Utes and stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously, Rylan's close with George with the Ford stuff they're doing Jetty 4. And Rylan's definitely
fast.
He's a gun of the future.
He's fast,
I really think, fingers crossed for all the typical guys, but I really think Rylan's like a star of the future. If he
is.
keeps going the way he's going, so...
Yeah, but they're all unique.
Yeah.
They're all four are different. So, like, it's like what you're trying to teach him, he does, the other one does perfect.
Right.
So it's like a little bit of that, a little bit of that. And they're all going to do really well.
Yeah.
Whether they all make it or one makes it or whatever.
Yeah.
But then that's the thing, you sit back and you've invested, and you can sit back and they're actually good kids. They're like, thank you. And like, they're just good. It's good people to be around. So I'm enjoying it.
So not your four then. Who do you see? Because they're racing this weekend in Tasmania, aren't they?
They're in Tasmania.
Who are their biggest threats in Super 2 outside the guys?
There's lots of good guys.
Yeah.
Like, there's lots of good guys. I don't know. I don't know. Because one in practice, we were like, "Shit, this guy's quicker than in qualifying. He was 10th. It was like,
Super 2 is very like this, isn't it? At the moment? Like,
and then someone else pops up. One of the Triple Eight cars popped up front row. But
I
then,
think Sunday, one of them.
Gomersul
and Jackson Walls was second or something. But then the day before, they were behind.
Yeah.
And so it's very tight. So that's why I'm trying to get the guys to.
Jordan Sinney actually in there.
Jordan Sinney
Eggleston. Is he leading the championship? I think.
He's leading. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like Cody Birch from Eggleston's quite
Birchall was
fast as
quick.
well.
Who else was there? There was one other. Yeah. Anyway, but there's,
There you
it's
go.
an
There's
open.
a few for our listeners.
really
to keep
open
an eye on
grid.
this weekend. That's good.
It'll be
And
interesting.
they've got a shootout this weekend too.
Top 5 shootout.
5.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I reckon Super 2 at
That's
Tassie
cool.
could be a real shit fight too because it's hard to
It's
race
tough.
there.
It's going to be tough.
And like,
Yep.
I can see the safety car doing a lot of laps.
Top 5 shootout.
That'll be good to watch.
So like they're pumped. I want to get in the shootout. It's that.
Yeah, the shootout's awesome. It's a shame they run it every, not to get into it again, but they run it every week now. It's like
Yeah.
the shootout is, when you make the shootout,
Yeah.
it's such a good feeling. And when you don't, you're getting 11th is the worst.
Yeah,
Or
it's
when
the
you
worst.
cross the line, they say, you're P8, we're just waiting. And you're like, fuck. You're like,
Where you save a set of tyres and you're 11th. Yeah, I've got green.
But that's a top 10 shootout. Imagine making a top 5 shootout. You done that before?
yeah, never. Play the next one.
Scotty and Barbs, really loving this podcast of yours. Frosty, always been a massive fan. Frosty, out of all the engineers and teammates you've had, who's been the best and why? Really curious to know. Also pleased to see you signed up with Tickford again, mate. Great stuff. All the best for Bathurst and the Ben, mate. Cheers.
Good question.
Thank you, mate.
I can still charge you for that beer before you leave too.
Yeah.
Just remember that.
I think the best they're all different, but James Small was ridiculous.
Yeah.
He was a driver, racer. So a lot of these guys, you can be either very practical or very book knowledge.
Yep.
And to have both is very it's hard because you can just picture they're geniuses, these blokes.
Yeah.
Or girls or guys, whatever, they're geniuses. So you can't have everything in life. But he was the one bloke which was very clever, and you would say to him, I've got understeer, I've got this, Ferrari. He goes, yeah, right, but all right, see you, mate. Is it one happened with a couple of guys, but you'd go home, you turn your phone off because you know he wasn't going to ring you.
Yep.
And when you turn up the next morning, he said, righto, we're good.
This is what we've done.
And you roll out and you go, oh, it's good. Like, and he left. Problem is, when you win, they have success and they leave.
Yeah.
You're better off not winning. Like, should have been second for your whole career, and they'd stay because they're like bucket list guys. So,
And money's not a motivating factor anyway, because they're going to get so many opportunities. They just want to win.
he goes, I'm going to win Bathurst and I'm done. And then when I won, I'm like, shit, he's gone. Like, and he's gone. Boom, he's gone. But then I had Jace Gray, who was very, very clever. Like, probably the smartest bloke I've ever met. But he was my data engineer for 7 years. So he had an opportunity to go on Reynolds' car. And he said, no, I'll just wait for when the opportunity comes up on yours, which at the time I was like, just take the opportunity. But he goes, but, you know, he was very loyal, which is really rare because they don't get paid a lot, data guys. He could have got a pay rise, but he stayed on my car. And in 15, that's when he come over and we won the championship the first year.
How good's that?
But he knew me. So he knew me through data. Smalley knew me through being a driver. So like Jace, he'd go, righto, I can see your application on the brakes got a roll on the top, so you've got rear lock. So righto, mate. So he had his cheat sheet off Motec, what I was doing. So
Your style.
So as an engineer, personal for me, he was very strong. So because he knew he could drive the car through the line. So I've had really good ones. Campbell Little, like just awesome. Like he was one of those guys that used data, used engineering, but just went, oh, fuck it, I'm throwing this at it and we're doing it.
Went off experience, yeah.
Yeah, and he was really good. You know, Phil Keed, like but then he needs a guy to be able to put his ideas and make them into reality, because the problem is they're often smarter than the guys they're trying to go through, and it doesn't make sense, and then it never works because you need that guy to filter it through.
Especially if you're in a, you know, with Phil being in smaller teams.
Yeah.
Can't often execute on the ideas that he wants to put into place.
He was mega.
Yeah,
because
right.
he was
He
there
could do that.
with Bridie. He's like, righto, we're doing this, and this. And they're like, it's done. Because the guy in the CAD's done it, the guy in the machine shop's made it, the mechanics fitted it, it's done.
Yeah.
Where at Team 18 or something, it was like this, and it's like, oh, how are we going to make this work? And he's like, and then they get frustrated and you don't get the best out of him. So there's been some really good ones. But, you know, Smalley, you win championships with him.
Yeah. And he was a great driver. Anyway.
Unbelievable
Great driver, yeah.
Unbelievable driver.
But smart. Like
Yeah.
he was the one that would just go, right, we're running 12 PSI.
Yeah.
It's like, no one else is. Well, I'm doing it. One day when I hit those, remember we had those sausage things that, and he had attitude, he had swagger. Yeah. But like, remember those bollards that we ran at Gold Coast? They were like sausages.
The bread loaf.
To stop you from
snails.
So I hit one of them and he's like,
Don't hit those.
No, it half wrote the car off. But he goes, we needed this, and this. And the team said no. So he ripped it off, put it in, and then put all the old shit in his office. So when he left, they opened his drawer and there was uprights. He was that sort of guy that just went, if I need it to win, we're putting it in. And then I'll deal with the politics. Like, he was a nightmare for the race teams because
he wanted to win and he was like, I'll do it and ask for forgiveness later.
He would win at any cost.
Right.
And then if there's a drama, he just backed himself. He knew that his job security, like he was one of those guys, you know, we talk about drivers push ourselves and like he knew his value and he had no filter or care in the world. He went to win.
They need me,
and I'll deal with it later. He was that sort of guy. It was, and it's rare because we all worry about job security and stuff, but he was a pioneer. So
that is rare. Good on him. Teammate, mate. You didn't mention that one.
Oh, teammate.
Or maybe what's unique? What's unique about some of the teammates you've had?
Sorry, teammates. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
Don't know. They've all got different skill sets. That's the thing. Like I think when you're young, you look up to all the older guys like Bridie, Richo, all those guys, and they were really good drivers. And then you have other guys like your Mostets come in, and then Waters and these young blokes who are bloody fast. Like Jazzy's ridiculously fast. Some of the stuff he did in the car, I'm like, I don't know how you're doing it. Like, and he had these weird throttle traces, but it just was unique to him. But when he had brake issues, it just didn't work. But when he had good brakes, he was so fast. So you see guys like that who are ridiculously fast. Then Cam, like, see him progress through, and then Reynolds, and there's been some really good teammates. Will, and you come on, like everyone's got a different skill set. Like you're ridiculously fast. Everyone's got a trait that's better than yours in some way, and it's how you try and then learn off each other. Everyone's fast, everyone's good, everyone's got a strength, but everyone's got weaknesses too. So you sort of, as drivers, I know you, as a teammate, you have this like ally thing, but you're still dissecting. We all dissect our drivers and look for weaknesses, not for positive. And it's not until you're not racing someone you realise that they're all bloody good.
Yeah.
Because when you're racing them, you're like, nah, I'm going to beat him into turn 1 because he's shit off the starts. And like you pick the negatives, you don't pick the positives. But
you hear even this morning at Miami, Oscar Piastri was getting from his engineer info on where Lando was faster. I mean, these are guys at the top of their game, and they're saying, okay, minimum speed at turn 1, Lando's rolling the apex more than you, and he's gaining a 10th. The very next lap, he went 0.2 faster than Lando. And it's like, you are always learning, aren't you? It doesn't matter what you're doing, but as a driver, like, that's what's cool about having competitive teammates. So that should be, you chase the competition, should be the advice for any young kid. Go up against the best and analyse what they do and try and pick anything you can from someone. If you get an opportunity to have data, you should look at what their strengths are. Like, I'll be honest, my starts were shit. And yours were so good. Like, that was my biggest, I remember arriving and like, you spend your whole career starts at number 1.
Yeah.
Like, qualifying and starts the easiest times to make places.
Spots, yeah.
So, you look for those things, braking, like, I can relate Chaz, because if I have braking instability, my roll off throttle to brake, there's a big delay waiting for stability. So it's like, how do you, and we're all aware of our weaknesses. So you do need, as a driver, start looking at where is someone strong and how can I steal that? How can I?
But then also how they're setting the car up, because you're like, I want that setup, but then, it doesn't work in my car. Like, but unless you drive like them, you can't eliminate that, part. So I don't know. There's not like who your favourites are or anything like that, because some you bond better with others. That's just part of life. But everyone's good. I think there's always been a teammate with a better trait in some way, and you're trying to learn off that.
Yeah.
And then vice versa, you're looking over you, like you've got some strength that people try on. We're very lucky in the sport, but until they're in the same car, you don't know how good or bad someone is, because there's guys that you go, oh, they're terrible. And the next minute they're in a good car at the Enduros and you can't catch him. And you go, that guy, and then he's back in the championship in a car that's not fast and he's behind you again. It's like, you never know. But been very lucky to have really good teammates, and it's not until now I've probably appreciated how how good they are, because when you're racing, you see the worst in everyone. You don't see the best in them, which is, that's the competitive spirit.
Very good, mate.
G'day, fellas. Love the pod. Just wondering from all of you what your favourite race car you've ever driven is. Keep up the good work. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, mate. Thank you. Favourite race car? You go first.
I liked my Cobra. That was a cool car.
Yeah.
That was the one before you had the sponsor, or
No, the
the one you
white
ran at Bathurst?
the white Alan Moffat Ace. What is it? The blue, the white with the
blue and white.
stripes.
that still sells for some crazy amount as a model. That one, I think that's like still
That's
the most
the
popular
GT
selling.
one. That's the GT one. But
Fuck, I'm all over the place.
the Cobra one was
I'm not
really cool. And then I got to go and see, drive one of the Cobras and that. But that car, like, I'm big on meaning and history, and that car was cool. Like, it looked cool.
Awesome.
And then Moff, Al was always a great supporter type thing. So having ties to him and a guy who, one of the legends of the sport. So I like driving things that are iconic. And that car, it was fast. It looked really cool, and they ended up making a road car with the FG? BF, whatever it was.
BF, I think it was.
with that
Yeah,
one.
Yeah.
it was the white with the blue. So then you got to be involved with that. But that was a really
That's
cool
cool.
car. That was cool.
Mine's probably, in terms of car, I love just different car, but Formula 3, not just livery, but like the F3 car to turn a lap in, I loved. Hated racing it. Like, I think open wheelers are really, they're just not fun. Racing a touring car, I think, is the coolest thing ever. So a supercar is by far, Gen 3, I still think as well is awesome. The racing is better than any open wheeler you'll ever get. And probably the Shell car for me was a livery because my dad was such a big Dick Johnson fan. So just driving the Shell Helix car was the first time I remember seeing my name. I had a sticker. They did stickers in 1995 or something for Dick Johnson Racing, and we had one on the wall of our garage. I remember it's in the photo with me cleaning my go-kart, like 6 years old, and my dad, and there's like a JB and Dick Johnson sticker in the background, and then they released a sticker, the exact same of the Shell Helix car before the Adelaide 500. So that was a very cool one from meaning perspective as well.
Yeah, it's cool.
Where are you, Buzz?
Mine's probably actually- it's one
You've
of-
actually driven a lot of different cars. So what's your favourite?
Yeah, but probably because I didn't do what I wanted to do on the sport. It was actually one of your FG Falcons. So I didn't get to race it, but I did. At the end of 2012, I was trying to go again in Super 2. So Matty had me and Chaz do the handover. They
Winton.
bought the FPR car, so it was your car and Davo's car. I got to drive that, and I remember because I'd battled in the shitbox I was racing. I remember driving around. It was like 40-degree Winton day. You know what that's like in a supercar. I'm like punching out times I'd never seen before, and like just doing it easy. And I was like, "How long's this been going on for?"
It's like Frosty with Tim Edwards in the passenger seat. You're going, how the fuck?
You know, I think I drove that car maybe like 3 years later.
Yeah.
Because Matty White goes, "Oh, we need you to just, show some of the young guys just what you're doing." And it was when we went sequential back to, it was a H pattern.
Yeah.
And I wrong slotted the second coming out of the turn 9, and I didn't wrong slot, but it got jammed between the selector.
Show the young blokes.
Yeah, and I'm like, I drove in, I go, I don't know what happened. Like, it used to just bang the gear through, but it got stuck, and there was like a worn selector. And so I'm like, okay, I don't know what happened, but I want my sequential back. So
I don't drive H patterns anymore.
I don't drive. Yeah. So anyway, it was a good car, but
Yeah.
the selector. Maybe you wore the selector out.
It was sequential when I drove it, so yeah. But
funny,
yeah,
yes.
that was a cool, like just for like jumping, going, yeah, this is what they're meant to be like. Like
proper
that was a
car.
really well sorted supercar.
good cars too.
And we'd got it just from you guys.
Yeah.
Like basically coming out of your truck to him, sort of
Yep.
thing. So like it was as you guys
Yeah.
ran them, I just remember going, like these things are really good race cars.
It
And
must have almost been water spray too.
Well, it would have been because it would have
Just
been
when it got
2012.
taken out.
it would have been when it got taken because
So it must have been
it
the
was
2011 car.
It was
Yeah.
December 2012, the test day. Like you guys had finished
a good
the year,
car.
and they basically gone from you guys straight to Maddie's.
Yeah.
And then Chaz didn't get his main game seat till like after round 1, so he was there because he was going to do Super 2 with
Yep.
it. And that's the car that Dale Wood ended up jumping in because I didn't find the money, and he won the championship in it that
Yeah,
year.
it was a
the
good
following
car.
year.
That was a good car.
Fuck, it's frustrating sport, huh?
Hey guys, love your pod. Been listening to you guys since day one. Message for Frosty, and I got another question for all of you. Frosty, what era of car would you say was the best supercar since you've been racing? And the other question was, do you think they should be bringing back the anterior roll bar adjustment in the car?
Well, we answered one of them for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite era car?
I don't know. I think they're all pretty good cars. Like,
Yeah.
even the current car is really cool to drive. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I love the engine note in the new car. Like
Yeah.
this new car, the engine note. Even when you take off, you get like, and they go save fuel. You're like, just give it a little couple of revs because it sounds. But I remember, like even the FPR car, like FG around that time, the note it had. I'm big on engine note. Like I just think they're all good to drive, they're fast, and they all handle whatever. But the engine note is something. And when they used to do their own exhaust, and they used to run right under your backside and out the side, like I think it might have been that Cobra car, but the note on that engine. And that was when we had minimal drag because it was literally 300 kilometres an hour was getting hit back then. Like we were,
Yeah.
and it was that note and 6 gear and the thing was open up and
Even the broadcast, it used to be different when you hear them go through the chase.
awesome.
Just like
Yeah, well, those BAs, they were in the chip at 300, weren't they?
Yeah, but then you downshift and
remember
then the
that
big
past the chase?
flame comes out the side and I know
Yeah.
it sounds real bogany, but that was cool. Like that was,
That's the entertainment.
yeah. And
It is, yeah.
And back then the cars, if you had a steering rack issue, you just go and make a new one. If you had so you could perfect the car. So although we've come a long way, some of those cars were better to drive because if you didn't like it, you'd fix it. So like 2012, 13, that Bathurst car. And then we went to Car of the Future and we lost a little bit. I felt like we went backwards there a little bit. Like the 12 car that you just said or 11 car, they were really cool. 13 car, I thought it lost its way a little bit. And then we engineered it again to get back kind of to where we were. I felt like we lost a year or two in development there. Like we were always trying to make it like what we had and we were meant to be going forward. So it was a weird little era in that point. And then, Gen 3 cars really cool. They're all good, aren't they?
yeah,
Like,
they're good cars. That's the thing. You're splitting
they're all
hairs.
good. So
They're
you're
still
just
good
trying
cars.
to find little weaknesses with something. But the note of that 2012 car was,
Tough.
or 11 car, that was tough, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Frosty, great career, mate. Question is, if you could choose any GM vehicle, which one would it be?
After all you've bled blue this whole pod, that comes
I did like my Silverado, I'll be honest. That was a bloody good car.
Surely that guy.
You'd take an F-150
Silverado.
now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would. But like the
Surely he's
Silverado,
loaded that up as just to get you. Got you.
yeah, he's just ranking literally right now. So, but it's there's some cool cars, isn't there? Like I used to always want a Walkinshaw back in the day, like just because I liked the look of them, the big, the bluey, the VL, the space looking thing. Because I thought it was ahead of its time. It was ugly, but it was
VL Walkinshaw's a cool car.
but it was ahead of its time. But then I bought a Ford Cortina, so that changed pretty quick. But like
very different.
very different. But that car was something that I wished I owned, like because I was a Brock fan, even though I was Ford, I was still a Brock fan. So that if you call that a jam car, which it was back then, a Holden, but that car, the VL Walkinshaw, was
That would be
That's
it.
a good answer.
There we go. We actually have
would
one.
be it.
I wasn't expecting to get one.
I wasn't expecting a VL Walkie. No.
Yeah, of all of them.
G'day guys, it's Josh from Melbourne. My question to Frosty is, what's been your favourite retro livery that you've driven and why has it been your favourite? Cheers. Scotty, Elliot, keep the pods up guys. Love your work.
Thanks,
Cheers.
man.
Good question as well.
well, that Cobra car,
that's
was good, but also the 2012 we ran the Moff livery as well.
Yep.
So anything tied to Moff, I was a big fan of because he was, we all have mentors and he didn't say much. He was one of those guys that rolled in, but he'd be, forward looking after you. Always had your back, and he'd pop up to an appearance somewhere, and he watched you from afar. He's one of those guys. So it was like the Ford God looking over you, one of those guys. And he had a very special, I don't know, like when he spoke, you listen, he had this aura around him. So whenever, like I don't get shy or embarrassed around people or shy, whatever it is. But when he spoke, he just went, like he just engaged. He's one of those blokes. He didn't say a lot, but what he said was gold. And so any Moffat replica I ran was really cool. And then he would come and he'd be standing there and he was proud. He was like, if anyone could run it, I'm glad it's you. And like it meant a lot.
Nice,
so 2012 we ran his 2017, sorry, we ran his 77 1-2 car. I think we ran in 2012 as well, but never had success in it. Like the 2 rounds we
Didn't
work, but and then I interviewed him actually in that 17 before that race. So I did an interview with him and Colin Bond and sat down and he got really tearful, Moffat, because when those guys, I think, you don't realise how much when you're racing, and I said some things to him like we wouldn't be here without you because they were the guys that groomed our sport. Without them, there's no sport really.
Even the way, I think he said to us once, he used to come in Team 18 every now and then. He came in once and was telling me they were one of the first to have a full-time mechanic, someone that actually just worked on the cars all year, not just an engineer, but actually to have a full-time mechanic that was focused. So they were actually like pioneers in our sport, the way they developed or created what we have today.
Yeah, they created a pathway for all us guys. And then I think they don't know they've been appreciated until you tell them because like guys like that, they don't say a lot, but they, I don't know. So I did this interview and then he was actually teary. He got up, gave me a big hug. And then we went to Bathurst. He was there and he had the shirt on. He was arm around. Like he's just it was like he was your dad. He was a very proud, so to run a livery that has meaning to someone that you sort of idolised a bit was really cool. So
that's awesome.
That would be it. But then actually I saw him about a week later. He was hopping on a plane. We're going to Sydney and in Melbourne. And he was always polite and whatever. And I walked right up to him and followed him in, and I was in his space, like purposely doing it. He didn't know it was me. And even when he was angry, he was polite. He goes, "Excuse me, do you know anything about personal space like this?" And I'm like, and he goes, "Oh, it's you little," like he just, even when he was angry, I was like, I just listened to him. He was abusing me. And I'm like, yes, Mr. Moffat. So anything with him, I was always very proud to run.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, hey guys. Hey Frosty, just want to start by saying been a massive fan of yours since day dot. It's been a pleasure to watch you throughout your career, especially the days of you and Will in those Pepsi Max cars. That was always good to see. My question tonight, it was pretty clear to everyone that your full-time seat ended because of other people's decisions and not necessarily your own. But before all that happened, did you have a plan for how or when you would have liked to have hung up the helmet? Cheers.
Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it? That's where like people know they're invested in it as well. But I thought I was still driving okay. Like I'm pretty realistic. If I was driving badly, I didn't want to do it. But when you're driving something and, I was in front of Reynolds in the points. And Reynolds, I picked Reynolds as one of the good drivers. I had 2 podiums in my last year. And then when I got told I was out, my car performance dropped a little bit, which is that happens. But like when you're driving okay, you're motivated, you're fit, you want to win. You're not thinking about that. But at the same time, I had a goal that I wanted to get the most starts because I wasn't too far away. And if I'm driving all right, had sponsorship behind me, had getting told I was in, like all the stuff. When it's a shock, that's when it affects you, I think, because if you know what's coming, it's fine. But
did you say earlier you had an extra year, or you thought you had one more year left?
I got told with
your hand
verbal
shook,
and writing are two different things. But anyway, is what it is. But like like if you're driving okay, it's fine. But you just the biggest part was when it's your time, you want to know that you go out. And then problem with our sport, we often only see people. We go to Perth once, we go to New Zealand once. It's a nice way to say goodbye. If you know, this is what Courtney's got very respectfully, is that you have a year to say goodbye. Because as much as people support you, I appreciate what people have done.
There's familiar faces in all those places you get to say goodbye.
I know that this person's in Perth. I know that I know these people because they followed you for 21 years and they buy your merch and they support you. Win, lose or draw, they've got your back. And you've seen at the team, we have good followers that just support you. And when you go on like shit, I'm always amazed that people buy your shirt when you qualify 18th or something, but they're really true people who are invested. And that's the one thing I think I would have liked to go to rounds and have that opportunity. And I think you're not owed anything, but when you're told something, you have that expectation that that's going to happen. So probably 1 year, maybe 2. But yeah, I thought I could go on my terms and that didn't happen. But like I said before, people can say what they want. It's when it's unexpected, it hits you a bit, But I would have liked to go to a few places because people sent me messages, but in person, it was really nice. People would line up. Like one guy in Gold Coast gave me a photo of, I think he was like 5 years old. He's about 30 now, but like he gave me a photo of him then and him now. And like people were like, it was really nice. And that's the bit I missed. I missed I don't need a send off. I don't need jets flying over, all that bullshit that goes. But you just need
it's not even just about. It's not about that send off at Adelaide where you got the. It's going to those places and seeing the people you've seen for 21 years.
It's not about, but it's just shaking hands with people, saying thank you as much as they're saying thank you to you. So I missed that. So that if I had 1 year, that's what my plan was, to say thank you to people that like these people that are phoning in.
Yeah,
like thanks for your career, thanks for supporting it. It goes both ways. So I missed that. So I had at least 1. Probably 2, but it just didn't work out. But I still get to do that at the 2 rounds, but still don't get to go to Perth. And so people message you on Facebook and Instagram, but I'm a handshaker. I'm a so I miss that.
It's why we do like doing the voice memos too, because like the people get to hear themselves on there. But those that don't want to do a voice message, I'll go through. Like this morning, I went through a lot of the comments online. And DMs, we actually had quite a few DMs of people that don't like to do the voice message. And that way, when we do our pod, the questions are actually, there's a lot of them that are
driven by them.
Just like what they've said, hey, could you ask Frosty this? Like even on our Patreon, a few people sent in, could you just ask him these questions? And we just pop them in throughout the pod. And then at the end, if someone wants to have an opportunity to say g'day, or like sometimes you just get a message that says g'day.
Yeah, that's right.
It says, thanks. Hey, keep doing what you're doing. Cheers, guys.
Afternoon, fellas. Afternoon, Frosty. I'm just wondering what the go was in the 2014 Bathurst when you were going so slowly off the track and Lowndes spun you. Like, he didn't deliberately spin you. You come across the front of him. Like, it shouldn't have been a drive-through. You're already off the track. I don't see why everyone was so upset about that. And you run out of fuel anyway. You had to come back into the pits with 2 laps to go because you're going to run out of fuel like Win-Cup. You're on the Win-Cup strategy while Lowndes and Mostert were on the fuel strategy. So, yeah, just wondering about that. Thank you.
Just after we're saying how good it is, everyone.
Why'd you turn across the front of Lowndes, you dog?
Yeah, what are you doing? Checking up Lounsey, mate. I actually went back and watched this today.
First of all.
Yeah, go.
First of all, I didn't run out of fuel, but that was a different year. We both ran out of fuel. That was a different year.
Oh, yeah.
That's still sore.
So you were on the right strategy. Let's rule that out. So you were on a good strategy?
No, but I didn't run out of fuel. So what happened was I was leading the race, and then I let Win-Cup pass because I was on the same strategy as him. But behind him, I could save fuel. So I was using him as a slipstream
Right.
to save
What
fuel.
he should have done that year, because that year he
What
ran
should
out.
have- He ran out of fuel.
He should have fuel saved what you
So
were.
they said to me, "So get behind him. We can save about 2 or 3%, whatever it was." And the other guys behind had fuel. Lowndes wasn't that good on fuel. Chaz was the only one because when Morris hit the fence, they just kept filling up.
Yeah.
So he was the only one genuinely on fuel. So this is where the sport's good. This is where I like the sport because even when a hero does something wrong, he's still a hero.
Yeah.
So this is where Lowndes is very good. He's very good in this way because deep down he's like one of the most aggressive dudes. But everyone on the side goes, "Oh shit, you turned into him or you backed into him." Or it's very good talent what he has because
He fucking drilled you, spun you to the infield.
And then when I come in, he goes, "Oh, just the sun was in my eyes and I just didn't see." And I went, "Oh, okay." But then he did that, and then you just like, mate, you got, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. No way. Then at Homebush, I drilled him. I sent him in the fence. And then he comes in. I'm like, oh, man, that sun dropping down at turn 9. He lost his shit. But then people are like, you hit him. But then when he hits me, it's like I backed into him. So it's like, anyway, that was where racing was good. You could give back and kind of.
As someone not in that fight on that day, though, I actually went back and watched it today. One, I'll say you really apex hunted. So that was great. You went really wide at one. Never dropped a wheel. So
I did go slightly wide.
You didn't run off. So, mate, you're wrong. You weren't off the track. You didn't rejoin. You just went you went apex hunting for a little bit, but you were on track going slower. And Lounsey just misjudged the closing speed and hit you square up the arse and spun you to the infield.
Yeah.
And the only reason you spun in was because he was coming out onto the exit curb and hit you at an angle.
Yeah.
So, sorry, bud, but I do think it's great to hear someone that's obviously a Lounsey fan. But I did put that in there because I'm like, I heard that today and I was like, fuck, did he really? And I went back and watched it.
The sport. You're red or blue.
Yeah.
And this is like...
You need it.
This is the cool stuff because, like, I could do everything right that day and the red guy would find something against you.
Oh, yeah.
But then the blue guys aren't thinking that way. Well, actually, they are with Lowndes, aren't they? But anyone else, like...
We do talk about, though, drivers can't hold a grudge for 3 weeks or 4 weeks. This guy, though, 11 years.
Yeah.
It was a good recovery, though, because you kept your boot, it spun around, plucked gear and kept going.
Yeah, I finished 6th. That was shit, wasn't it? But
I showed Elliot that and he goes, fuck, what a
No,
recovery.
I was like, you got binned. I'm like, that's
You
a
know
good
what?
job to keep your composure.
I had enough fuel to do a burnout, didn't I? So I didn't have to come in. So I probably used about 5% there.
True.
Yeah.
True. But anyway, good one. We let everyone have
question. But,
let everyone have a voice.
But with the sport, that's what I mean. You don't have to always be sucking up to people saying, "No, like that's the sport is cool." Like
More than just a comment and he sent his voice. Good on you.
But that's good. That's a good comment. And he's right in his eyes. That's what happened. And that's cool. That's like that's the sport. That's the good stuff. These guys, you need more of these guys respectfully the way you delivered it.
Yeah.
But having
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't rude. If it was rude, we wouldn't have played it. It wasn't at all.
I don't mind anyway.
G'day, boys. Scotty Bubs, Matty here. Frosty, quick question for you. What has been the best weekend you've raced in both terms of formats and results? And do you think, in terms of formats, they could do stuff differently? And if so, what would you think is the ideal format be that would be a good balance for everyone? Good luck in the Enduros this year, mate. Hope to hear you crack a few sound checks with monster cans in your hand. And go well. Cheers.
Go Red Bull.
Yeah. Thanks, mate.
We did the format, but what was your most memorable race weekend?
Look at the sport. Like I was saying here when, I don't know if we're on or not, but like when we did the IndyCar drives, like Will Power come out and all those guys, like those weekends were cool. And you didn't have to give up a seat to have that. Like it just filled a seat. So they added an extra. So like racing with some of the best drivers in the world.
Yeah, you could still do that today.
Well, I raced with Lyons, Richard Lyons. I raced with Will Power. I raced with, I'm trying to think of who else, like Nick Heidfeld, Mika Salo.
Mika Salo was good too. I remember
he was really good.
Really good.
He was the art of race starts.
Not to say the others weren't, but I remember Mika Salo and thinking,
really good.
He's really good.
Out of control, but really good.
Yeah.
Like, in the pits, out of control, on track, so good. Like, but those weekends, whether they're good results or not, but they're like experiences that So like that was a really cool weekend. When you look at formats, how can we make formats better? Like that was one of them because it was really cool. So then people would watch and but then I started watching IndyCar because I'm like, oh, Will's a mate. Boom, I'm on to watching that. It opens up
Is
your
that
eyes.
how you
a
got
bit.
your Brazilian stock car drive through a connection?
Nah, that
between
was through like a Optimum G
Right.
engineering guy, and he was engineering. But same sort of thing. Those guys they don't watch our championship in Brazil, but they watch that race. They watched because they know half the Europeans. They live in Europe. They're like Europe.
Castronovas, there's a whole heap of different
Castronovas,
Euros around.
Or they watch the Grand Prix.
Yep.
They're the two races they watch. They don't watch any race throughout the year. They don't watch Bathurst.
I think even Canaan did it out here as well.
Canaan did it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of guys.
Yeah. So in formats, what was cool, like that was really cool. Imagine you go to America and do a race with the NASCAR boys and they come and drive your car. And
imagine that a swap, like if there was, I mean, NASCAR doesn't do enduros, but imagine if there was they did one here, you guys went over
You can still do an exhibition or
100%
like what NASCAR did with that. What was the small oval they did with $250,000 US prize money? What's that called?
Oh, the Clash.
The Clash.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like there are things you can do. You're right.
But that was cool because it was unique. But because otherwise it's just like this race is 19 laps, this race is 22.
Yeah.
There's not a big difference.
Yeah.
But that felt like the whole week they all stayed at the
nice places.
Villeneuve. So Villeneuve, how's this? He was we stayed at there's a place in Main Beach. There were these
Versace.
units. He stayed at Versace.
Yeah,
so
right.
we stayed
Xanadu.
whatever it was at this little like Xanadu. It
Yeah,
was Xanadu.
yeah,
We
yeah.
stayed at Xanadu and he stayed at Versace. And then we were doing appearances and
there's a big difference between the two.
Really?
but Villeneuve comes in and he comes into this pub. So we're at an Orcon Steel appearance. We're at a pub and he walks in, he goes, okay, I'm done, boys. Off he goes. So I had to just see his face to get his paycheck. So he went in, went back to the Versace, and then he was tipping the pool boy $100 to get his towel. He was having lobster. So we're putting in our receipts for like the weekend, $200 or something because we had a toasted sandwich and a coffee. And whatnot.
It's about 10 grand.
It was 10 grand.
Dead set.
10 grand. So then I go to Brazil and then I was teammates so in the same team as him, but and we're the only two blokes that spoke English. Everyone else is Portuguese. So we're sitting in the truck and he goes, Frosty, how are you? Like, how you been? He goes, oh, how did Tim Edwards take my $10,000 bill? Like he thought it was hilarious. And like, I got him, he wasn't that happy about it. He's like he thought it was hilarious. But like, it was these guys that created the story. A Formula One world champion comes and races your car. And it's like, and then you build this, you go over there and you're sitting in a motorhome.
Yeah.
With talking about how he took the piss and $10,000 and, you know, like. So
gives all you guys credibility too. Like they come over and go, fuck, these guys can wheel a race
he come
car.
to me though.
100%.
He come to me and he's like, oh, Frosty, it's so good to see you. Like,
That's awesome.
Like it created a.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway.
More of that.
Things like that are cool, you know?
Yeah.
Hey guys, love the pod. Keep up the good work. All right, Frosty, no bullshit. What's the actual feeling like of being back home? Don't worry about hurting people's feelings. Past teams, blah blah blah. Let us have it. Cheers, boys.
Big tick. I reckon this guy's a tick V stoked. He's
Sounds like
stoked
a
to have
good
Frosty
bloke.
back.
You're a good bloke, mate. I can tell. No, it's good to be home. Like I think it feels right. Like because when you retire, it's a big moment because you live and breathe it, but it actually feels really nice to go back. Like it actually feels better in some ways to go back and. It's the right story. It feels right. You know when things feel right, you know it's right.
Yeah.
Sometimes things feel off and you go, and it probably is off. But being back there's awesome. Like the team, they've just, it doesn't feel, there's new people there, but it feels the same. Like you walk in and first thing you do, walk in, there's trophies on the wall that you sort of walk down memory lane a bit.
Yeah.
And then you walk up and Rod's, he's wrapped to have you back and then Cam's, and Maddie and all those guys. It's just awesome to be back. But then also people who supported me, like people would not wear a Holden shirt when I went from forward there, but they still supported me because it was really nice that these people that bleed blue still respected you enough that they would follow you. And when you come back, it's like, okay, you went off for a little bit, but you're home. And it's a really nice feeling.
They're probably like, thank God.
And then, but like it's nice. And if you win, you want to win in anything, but it feels better winning in an environment that you have history with and where you're wanted. And with Cam, we have a lot of history. We've known each other a long time. I known him the first day he drove a Super 2 car. I was there with him. So it's like to see him succeed means more to me too. And it's nice to be home. So it's been good.
I think it's probably uncommon, the brand loyalty you have now. Like, I think the way it's changed now, probably one of the last drivers that really was a factory.
Well, come up
supported.
through that.
Yeah, and like from Ford kart stars, in go-karting, you won that, and gives you an opportunity into, I don't know, just listening.
It just
it's so
changed
genuine.
a bit, though, because it, like, when Ford closed, like when Marin Barella was here, the president, he'd ring you, like, are you, and Howard Marsden and those guys, are you happy there? Or like they used to put people in certain places because you're part of the family, but then that shifted a bit because when they closed and it shifted, but now I think it's come back a bit with the Ford support. Great. So
we'll just say 2 more. I don't know how many we've got left. We'll just call 2 more and then we can let you get home, mate.
Hey team, how you going? Phil from New Zealand here.
G'day, Phil.
Love your podcast. Hey, a really nice little question for Frosty. Will you ever buy a Toyota forklift from Charlie? Shame to hear things ended the way they did, Frosty. You're a great driver. Although I'm a Holden fan at heart, mate, your days with the Ford were fantastic. Cheers, bye.
Good on you, mate.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Would you buy a forklift?
You know what I love about Kiwis are like the most passionate, loyal people. I've had quite a few that were really upset, more upset than me when they rang me. They're like, they don't do bullshit they're just the most loyal people. And when you go there, you feel it, don't you? When you go to New Zealand, they're like
hard on their sleeves.
Yeah.
Hard on their sleeve. Yeah. And it's actually really good. But I don't need a forklift at the moment, so
I don't even know what other brands there are, but
no,
you'll find it.
Like I said, things happen. That's I'm not bitter about
part of life. Yeah,
I'm not bitter about anything. I've got beautiful family, I've got beautiful kids, we're all healthy.
Yep.
Got to do the sport you love for 21 years. Like it's good and get to drive a good car at the Enduro. So here's what it is.
G'day, Apex Hunters, Frosty, Elliot, and Scotty. My name is Stephen, and here is my question.
G'day, Stephen.
What are your least favourite tracks that you've raced on? And what are some tracks you want to bring back to the calendar? Thank you.
Least favourite track? That's a good... We haven't had that before.
Mine's actually probably Phillip Island.
Least favourite?
Yeah.
Okay.
Phillip Island, when you put tyres on and do a lap, it's the best.
Yeah.
When you race there, it was painful at times.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like bad saying it because it's beautiful, but yeah, for a lap, it's like the F3 car. I love driving it, but racing it, it just didn't.
The thing with PI too, it never got a big enough crowd for 4 wheels. It gets an amazing crowd for MotoGP and
yeah,
bikes,
like maybe if it had the atmosphere, it
just
might feel
flat.
different. But
it's always a hard run home too, because when you got traffic at the bridge.
Yeah. Correct, yeah.
It's probably
They're all-
right
they're
when
all
you've
good
won,
tracks,
mate.
though. That's the thing. Like, like we look at our sport as a. But if someone said to you, "Here's a car, and there's a racetrack," you do anything you could to get that car on the track. Like, but we get picky because like we race
We're
at so
spoiled,
many.
yeah.
You were spoiled. So
You also will associate tracks where you go well to
Correct.
favourite tracks. It could be a piece of shit
I
track,
love
but
Tassie.
if you win there, you're like best track ever.
I love Tassie.
Yeah.
It's one of the best.
Even-
Even that hairpin, and but it's on paper, it looks crappy. Like it's probably.
Yeah. It's like QR's always had good racing. Like QR on the map, you compare that to Phillip Island, every fan would say Phillip Island, bring it back. But how many great race finishes have we seen at QR? And it's like, if you're racing anything, it almost doesn't even matter what you're racing. If the competition's good, go hire karting with a bunch of race car drivers. It's fucking
Broken
on.
ribs galore.
It's on like that, and that's I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, it's good racing and good cars. You do it anyway.
What track would you bring back that's no longer on the calendar? And it can be a track that's extinct. Let's go shit
one
to
off
pigs.
Lakeside.
Oran Park. Oran Park
was the tits.
That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool. I never
Going
got to
under
race
the
Super.
bridge and then
Yeah, going over the bridge and that over before the last corner, that dog leg or like over the hill. That was
I only did Formula Ford. Supercar would have been good there, wouldn't
mate, it was out of control. Yeah, you just
Yeah,
that was a good track.
Yeah, I only raced
Even
there once.
Homebush. I really like Homebush.
I love Homebush.
That was cool.
We've talked about that a bit. That's a great track.
That was really cool. But there's so many good tracks. Like
Did you like Newcastle?
I
loved it. Yeah. But when you look at it, like, how do we fit 18 races back on? The tracks are there.
Yeah.
It's just the money and logistics and governments and all that sort of stuff, isn't it? But like even Winton, It's still a good track.
Yeah,
you go there and
it's
it's
Winter promotes reasonable racing too, I reckon.
Yeah,
like a longer race at Winton can turn a decent race on.
But even like you look at the Bend and they got the two layouts. That short track at the Bend is actually pretty good. The races we had,
better.
The West track's better.
I like that track.
I raced there in Trans Am in the West.
Yep.
Really good racing, hard racing, really fun. Then I did a TA2 race at the national circuit, the medium-sized one.
Yep.
It was dull. Same cars, but the West track just promoted.
That was the better track.
It was way better.
Yeah, I like that track.
We did that
But
during
they're all-
COVID.
They're all good. Like the tracks, Townsville.
Well, even Townsville. Do you remember we did a double header there?
Yeah.
Everyone says, "Oh, you can't do the races. We don't have the tracks." You can do double headers at places, and everyone's like, "This is going to be boring." The second weekend was totally different to the first weekend. Like,
I love
you
Townsville.
can do the odd double header, and a place like the Bend, you can actually run different layouts.
Yeah. There's lots of good tracks.
Yeah.
Emeroo. Did you ever drive Emeroo?
Nah.
Did you ever go around there? I drove a
Elliot-
Formula V around there. That was
Elliot
good.
might look that old, but he's not that old.
Well, 1 minute I insult you. I don't want to say old or young.
I love how he said you're from the same era. You're younger than me.
Yeah.
Fucking
I'm
hell.
now trying to include you in that.
Lucky he didn't shave. If he had a shave, he looks about 8.
Frosty could definitely come back on this pod anytime.
Is that when he's like
I
pulling
feel-
out his shit commercial and he
Yeah,
starts
that's
doing
right.
his shave?
He's got his shirt off.
You know, at the time he rocked up to the team with like no beard. It looked like a new bloke.
Yeah, that day.
It was really weird. It's like, who's that bloke?
I did that ad and it was really embarrassing. Shan was like, the agency that I did for, so Schick go to an agency and say, we want a driver to do this thing. And the agency came to me and then we were talking about planning for the ad. And they're like, oh, you got a shirt off, it's shaving and might need a bit of a tan. I'm like, I'm not getting a tan. There's no fucking way I'm getting a tan. Shannon was like, you need a tan. I had to go to this place in Richmond. It's the most embarrassing thing I've ever done. I got a spray tan. Horrific. Then I hadn't actually used a razor before. I've only ever clippered. So my face was like rashing up.
It's got tissue everywhere.
Yeah. And then I went in the gym like the day later and I hadn't had a beard since like when I left Penske, I kind of went like, fuck this, like tucked in
went to
shirt
a
shave thing.
lumberjack.
I went lumberjack and just grew it out. So I went to the gym and they actually, this lady at the gym came over to me to make sure I'd signed in. She didn't recognize me. She goes, oh my God, you're always so white and you have a beard. Like, I didn't recognize you. She's come to make sure I'd signed the indemnity for the day pass.
Classic.
But yes, the beard's sticking around. Anyway, mate, it's been unreal. Thanks for coming in and joining us. It's
thank
been
you.
good fun. Thanks for joining us at the bar and having a chat.
And we look forward to reading the book, mate. So
September.
And where they buy it online through your socials? Or?
Yeah, you can buy it through, there'll be a link and we'll put that up and through bookshops as well. But yeah, through the link, we'll put it on our
We'll share
socials.
it on our
and-
socials.
yeah,
When you
thank
put it up, we'll share it on our socials and make sure that people grab it. Sounds like a good read.
Absolutely.
Thank you, boy.
Mate, good luck as well. Hopefully,
I'll bang some door handles with you in about 4 months' time.
yeah, I think it's time for you to remember how to do it and you'll be up the front, I'm sure, this year in the other energy drink car. But yeah, good luck, mate. And
Thank you.
stoked to have you for a drink again. Catch
Thanks,
up.
mate. Cheers, boys.
Thank you.